What is up, everybody? Welcome to a super special episode of the Zero HP podcast. Woo-hoo. Officially, it's episode 35.
Oh, yeah.
Episode 35.
Well, after our mistake, then yes.
It should be episode 36.
A repeat of.
Catch up on that.
We don't talk about that.
So we got Kevin and Mason, the normal boring guys.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Cool.
They're here.
Thanks.
It's me.
Thanks.
It's Ian.
We're just chopped liver now.
Yep, you're automatically chopped litter because we have contributor to cinemablend.com, writer Ryan Winslett, man.
Woo!
Welcome.
Hey, welcome.
Hi,
welcome,
hi
man.
everybody. How you doing?
Super, doing great, man.
Live
Super pleased
studio
to have you.
audience
You
here.
were
Live
like
audience.
one of the Fellowship of the Ring with your journey from
Yeah.
Fountain Hills to Glendale.
I drove on the on the highway there with all the traffic. It was
Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah, I'm assuming you probably take like two freeways.
a couple
in
of
here.
them. Yeah. Dropped off a ring in a volcano. It was,
Yes.
it was good. It was good.
The volcano
But
never heard
the
anybody.
world has
Yeah,
been
yeah.
saved,
Yep.
and he's arrived, and all things are good in Middle Earth here. As we were just super happy to have you on. Of course, like I've only met you once in person, all the way back. We were just having some dim sum.
Dim sum, yeah.
Met through friends through our my girlfriend's work, and you're friends with Andrea's husband.
Yep, and all them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a weird, one of those weird
Wow.
connections.
Small
whatever.
world, man.
Small
And
world.
then I was like, oh, this guy writes for Cinemablend. That's
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
And I've been reading your stuff ever since, man.
Oh,
So
thanks.
I've
Thank
been
you.
like, I want to ask him to come on the podcast, but I don't want to be like,
I wanna be a
hey,
fanboy,
bro, I've got a
yeah."
podcast.
No, I'm all for it. All for it. Yeah.
So I waited a while to just read your stuff and come more familiar with it. Because I had always, it's weird because it's like one of those things where you see like the random news chart, you put in a game title in Google and you see the different ones.
Yeah.
I always see Cinemablend like the top 10. So that's just, it's crazy how small the world can be, man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's one of those things that I really was excited about to get to do this for is. Am I good? Am I close?
You're great.
Yeah.
I'm watching the
I
feedback.
never know. Yeah,
I'm watching
I'm
the
used to
feedback.
writing, not talking. That's actually the thing that was so exciting is in my day job and in my day to day, my girlfriend plays games, but
Yeah.
no one in my daily life that I see on a regular basis plays much video games. So
Oh,
I
wow.
never get to talk about video games.
Yeah.
very
You're the
much.
guy, right?
You're the guy.
I'm the guy. Yeah, everyone comes to me and asks me about
Yeah.
video games. I actually had a coworker just yesterday. He's like, "Have you played this game series? I saw a commercial for it. It's Call of Duty." Yeah,
Call of,
Yeah, I'm kind of familiar with that.
Call of Honor. To be fair, he's a history buff and
Yeah.
he loves history, and
Yeah.
he's an older gentleman than me.
Yeah.
So he saw the World War II trailer, and of course that made him go, "I wonder if Ryan has played
Having
that."
Perk his ears up
That's
a little
cool.
bit.
Yeah, that's
It's not that old. No.
Oh,
I
okay.
know. Yeah, I know.
He's like 97 years old.
I work with a 97-year-old. Yeah.
Playing like, this is too real.
That reminds me of like when we went to go see Dunkirk, and I was watching like reviews of it, and they're like the war veterans that were there saying this is incredibly historic and it's just like so accurate, and it was just like the tears brought it was crazy. Yeah, it was so cool to see. Maybe the game does kind of trigger the same thing with
Yeah, I mean, if they
the
saw
veterans.
it.
Yeah, if they- yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. My fear is like it feels like they're going for something resembling historical accuracy, but I'd be afraid to show it to a vet
Yeah.
and then just constantly be like, "Didn't happen."
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know,
Like, it wasn't
There
like
were
that.
no
It was-
zombies in
Yeah,
World
no.
War II.
Yeah, there were no
zombies.
No
Confirmed.
Nazi zombies confirmed. Yeah.
That Mungaran did not fire that quickly. They'd be like into every little
It
thing.
didn't jam once.
Yeah, right. No
Yeah.
kidding.
Jeez.
Well, actually, that's actually a perfect segue because I have a little list of things. Like I got to make sure I create a list.
Okay.
A lot of times we kind of freestyle on here
Mhm.
because I'll come in huffing and puffing about something that I'm angry with in
Yeah.
the, in the
Yeah, it
industry.
means
And then I will acknowledge him
He's
for
my
an hour. And
he's
then
my
I'm like-
psychiatrist for an hour.
Okay, that
And
works.
I yell at him about how they're ruining everything. But you play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
You just did your review like last week. It came
Last
out,
week,
right?
I think, yeah, it came out with the embargo. So.
I am super interested in your thoughts on that because as a group, I was telling you, we kind of are lapsed Call of Duty players for the most part. So I mean, I've watched seen the basics. But that's about it. So I'd love to hear what you thought of that game and
Yeah.
everything you got out of it. I mean, obviously I read your review, but just for the audience and
Yeah, no,
Just
it's as far as I can understand where a lot of people were coming from, getting a little fatigued on moving further and further into the. Well, it was kind of modern. Then we were moving a few years into the future.
And then we were way in the future.
Way in the
People
future.
were running on walls.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Titanfall.
I'll use the horrible term that they keep using. I mean, it's a great term, but they've used it 5 million times now. Boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And honestly, the great thing about, I mean, I liked it for a time. The running on the walls, throwing grenades that track your enemies, guns that shoot around walls and things of that nature. I don't know if there's. I'm thinking resistance.
Change of pace as well.
Yeah. So I like the idea of going back to. I got my M1. I got a grenade.
Roots, right? Yeah. Roots of Call of Duty.
The roots of Call of Duty. It's just real basic combat. But I mean, still with map design, with the kind of build a class system that they have there. There's a lot of room to kind of fine tune your soldier, but they've got all the stuff that you've kind of come to expect. But then they've also added the new I think it's called Warzone mode, which I mean they just lifted from another. But that doesn't make it not good.
That's
right.
It's great. I like objective based multiplayer. I like to have a reason to be shooting these guys or be defending this place. I don't like usually I'm more of a solo player anyway. I usually don't team up.
Yeah.
So. Usually it's just me deciding, well, I guess I'm going to snipe for a little while.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to follow that guy. He looks like he knows what he's doing.
He's killing things. Yeah. He's definitely killing things.
And then he dies. And
grenades.
That's what always happens to me. I pick the wrong guy to follow.
Yeah, that happens. You're following him and then immediately he blows up. You're like, well, this was a bad call. But
Died along with him.
yeah, this mode, it gives you, like, if you're the defending team, usually you're defending, but you're always getting pushed back if they're pushing forward, and you've got extra little things you can set up turrets or defenses and things like that.
Okay.
And the guys who are pushing forward are maybe trying to someone's got to get in and break down this wall while people watches back. Well, they're supposed to be. No one's communicating.
Yeah, of course.
Then you get in and someone's got to set up a bomb on this weapons cache, and then you got to defend that. Yeah. And then if you do that, then the bad guys are told, they've got to get back to this point behind them. They got 20 seconds because your team's going to be pushing forward. There's only 3 maps in that mode. I think it's 3. Someone will let me know if I'm wrong.
Yes, they will.
But you can play them over and over because of the number of things you can be doing. So that's nice. Zombies is great. I mean,
Zombies is always fun. I love that. Yeah.
They don't do anything super new except for they added the thing that kind of pops into my head is you can now kind of push a button and see something like objectives.
Yeah.
So in previous zombie modes, it's like the game of it, and it still is very much so, is figure out what you're supposed to do to move to the next area.
To move to the next area.
Yeah, and now it'll tell you like you guys have got to flip these switches to provide power to something, and you still got to figure out where are the switches.
Yeah.
Or like, and some of them are like if you're playing by yourself, there's a longer timer on it, but like one of the things is you need to push this button over here and this one over here. So you've got to be communicating with your teammates at least to some degree. Just so that's nice. That was all well and good.
Is it still counting up rounds? In zombies?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I haven't finished it yet, which is nice because every time I think I feel like I'm probably getting to the end of it. The map opens up to a whole new section, a whole new level.
Unlock the new area.
Yeah, but I fully expect them to do with like Infinite Warfare and just keep adding on.
Oh yeah,
chapters with that.
I love that. That's one of my favorite playlists. Is in when we were playing Call of Duty. That was one of the. It was introduced in World at War, and they did a improvement in the Black Ops series. And it was one of my favorite things about it. That's the one thing that I would every year, if I decided to buy a Call of Duty game, it would be going back to that zombie mode.
Right.
And I'm like, it's so much fun because especially if you're working with friends, you're communicating, everything was working really well, and you're trying really hard. But yeah, if you're playing solo, that's extremely, extremely hard.
Yeah.
So.
And then there's the third part of that pie, which is the campaign, which is fine. I guess it's a good story, but it's a story you've all heard. If you brought up Dunkirk, what Dunkirk is, Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
It's all you've got the Jewish guy from New York, you got the farm boy from Texas.
That sucks.
You got the book nerd that everyone calls book nerd pretty much.
Yeah.
You got the hard as nail captain who lost his last platoon and you don't know what the story is.
Oh Jesus!
All cliches.
And it's
Pulling in
Lieutenant Spears.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of they were changing things so much by going back I mean, they haven't done World War II in 2
Yeah.
years.
Long time.
I think they wanted to play it kind of safe. Now they do some things here and there. There's a mission at about midway point. This isn't a huge spoiler. Where you're going to be doing some spy work. There's
Oh yes.
yeah. It takes a while before you even get to gunplay in that mission.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's just
Change of pace.
a change of pace. Yeah. So you get to do some things that are a little different. And I also like that they vary the missions a little more than they normally do because
I was gonna say that's my favorite thing was like to switch it up, switch the pace up, and not always just be in the fight all the time.
Yeah.
You know, just fighting all the. Well, you just get fatigued. Yeah, you just get fatigued. You're like, I want to change the pace, like do some spy work or do some like artillery. Like they had maps where you just play the artillery guys shooting over the artillery. So change the pace. So you say there's a variety of different. It's just just the one spy mission.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you just mentioned is you said there was the one level where you did artillery. Well, and previous Call of Duties, usually it'd be, this is the level where you're going to be the sniper guy. This is the level where you're going to escort somebody. And these missions are more, it's like you're going to be shooting. Now you got to escort this guy. Now you better grab that sniper rifle. Now you better run and shoot.
I see.
Now you need to get on that turret. Now, I mean, it's not, but there's a bigger variety of activities in most of the missions.
Okay.
So I appreciated that.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know if it's because as I'm getting older and learning more about history and stuff that
appreciate it a little bit more.
but it's depressing. I guess.
Yeah, it is.
It's like this
dark,
is a real with the future warfare. It's like where we're fighting, the moon. Actually Mars. Actually, we're fighting Mars.
Mars calls
like
it.
I can't, that doesn't happen yet. I'm not sure about that. But now I'm like, I've gotten to know vets in my life and a lot of actual World War II vets and stuff, to the point where it's like, this is kind of depressing.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, and then everyone says, "Oh, that's the great generation. We're going back to it." I'm like, it's cool. Yeah, I like that they changed the pace up in regards to like Call of Duty, Future Warfare, and all that stuff. And going back to the homage and to the roots of the Call of Duty series, and I was interested. I definitely was interested, and a lot of people said the great things about it so far. And maybe picking it up, but I don't know, maybe sale probably.
Yeah.
Would you say it would be like worth a sale, or would you worth $60 or?
The one we'll obviously get to this stuff later. I was going to bring up microtransactions and stuff like that. My fear with that stuff.
I kind of want to talk about that.
Call of Duty has these, so my fear when I go into these games that have microtransactions and loot boxes is what's been cut out. Nothing has been cut out of this game.
Oh, really? Okay.
So if you're going in thinking it's going to be a slim down and the rest will be delivered via DLC, for a Call of Duty game, it's a pretty meaty campaign. I think 6-7 hours somewhere in there.
Pretty good, yeah.
You've got all of the all the multiplayer stuff. You got the new modes in multiplayer. You've got zombies. They've got the new headquarters.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's the tower.
It's
a hub. It's a hub.
But actually, they do some things better than the tower. They've got a little. They've got a shooting range, so you can try out the different weapons, which is actually kind of nice.
That's really nice. Yeah, it's huge oversight in most games, I would think. Yeah.
Actually, my favorite one is you can jump into. Now, it's the access to it is through the headquarters, but it takes you to a separate area where you pop up into like a little crow's nest, and you get to try out all of the kill streaks, or they're not calling them kill streaks now. They're calling them whatever they are. But one of the problems with those in the past that I've had is I'm an okay player.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be that guy who gets 7, 8, 9, 10 kills in a row and gets to trigger what. So when that does happen, and it's like, hey, you can do this thing now. I don't know what to do. It's like, great.
Wait, what? I'm in a plane? What?
What's going on? And then I push another button. Oh, I'm the bomb. I'm getting the bomb. I hit my teammates. It's over.
You killed my teammates.
Yeah. So that's nice. They added that. They've got a little one-on-one thing that you can join a queue, and you and one other guy are on the beach, battling it out.
What?
Cute little, it's just
weird. Yeah, okay.
And then
hard on the beach.
and then you can actually spend, and I wish they would have done it just free because it makes no sense, but you can spend a pretty large amount of your in-game currency to play classic Activision games. And it's called R&R. There's an R&R tent, I think it's called. And you pop on it, and it's got like Pitfall, I think.
Really?
There's like 12 or 15
That's really cool.
But you got to spend a pretty decent chunk of in-game currency on it, which I thought was really weird. I'm like, just put these on.
I know.
If I want to spend 2 minutes playing Pitfall, let me play Pitfall. Because it looks like it's a Atari.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Really? Oh yeah, it's as far back as you can go with it. Like,
that's awesome.
I think it looks like a chessboard so it's like but playing games that didn't exist obviously yet.
Well, I've been meaning to ask you too, as far as because you brought up the loot boxes, and I'm relieved to hear that they didn't cut anything out of the game, which
Right.
is good. It is a weird disconnect for me between like you watch the trailer and like the greatest embark in humanity and all these men will die for a great cause, and then these fucking crates come down and land on the beach and you can watch your like buddies and like what they're getting. There's a weird sort of like respect the veterans and pay $2.99 and watch your did that impact, like, was that weird at all?
I was more worried
Watching
about
other people's
by
stuff?
boots on the ground, gritty realism, also zombies.
Yeah.
That's
like in
similar
World War
to
II.
this.
Yeah, in World War II, bro.
It's got a little grossness, I'll call it, when they have like in any of these games, you got daily challenges and stuff.
Yeah.
It can be anything from kill 5 guys with a shotgun to I got nothing else. But the one that everyone's referencing is watch 3 people open loot boxes.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Oh my
And
god.
so you need to go. You can see them kind of boom.
Yeah.
You can't do it right now because
Yeah.
they're still having online issues. But when it works, you just need to go over and basically be like, all right. Let's see.
What?
And the idea is it's making you. I mean,
Oh,
it's making,
yeah.
know the real reason.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, that's nice. I want one of those.
It's like
Yeah.
pistol grip changes and stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, just aesthetics there.
Yeah,
Just
it's
aesthetics.
all aesthetics.
Oh.
You got some gun stuff, and but I don't think any of them are attachments. I don't think any of them are. None of them alter your stats and stuff, which we'll get to that later.
We will get to that.
But so I would say that the loot in the loot boxes is what I call inoffensive loot boxes.
Yeah.
They're the loot boxes I'm fine with.
Yeah.
They're not time savers. They're not pay to win.
Right.
They're just if you want to throw some extra money
Yeah, to get a cool
on
looking
top of your
gun.
$60
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
That's up to you. That's your prerogative.
And I've gotten I shouldn't hit my hand.
Yeah.
I was like,
You're
that's
good.
kind of
You're
big.
good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
I was like,
We're not pros here.
We're not even recording right now.
I know, right?
This is all just a practice.
Yeah, double check. He's like, wait,
He's
what?
like, wait, I've been swindled.
Better turn that fan off now.
Yeah, all right.
But so as far as loot crates go, these ones don't bother me. So being forced to
At least
watch someone,
relatively speaking.
at least if I was being forced to watch someone open one and they were getting epic gear that's going
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
like, that would be weird.
Yeah,
Extra
yeah.
body.
I just got Darth Vader.
I'm not gonna see a Hawaiian themed pistol grip and go, oh, I got to spend
Son of
some
a-
money.
Yeah.
I need to, but again. So why would they put it in there? Like, if they would have just not done that, there wouldn't even be a talking point about it. So,
Yeah, and you could even look at things like this, the sort of non-harmful ones as kind of being the predecessor.
Yeah, the segue into
To allow the bad ones to start
Oh yeah,
getting into.
I call it grooming. I think I think they actually started off back in the day when this originally started.
Yeah.
They really quickly learned they can't do pay to win stat boosts, things like that. So they got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
But they've been slowly creeping toward conditioning you.
Yeah.
And not to get all whatever, but when I think about, let's say, not that a 14-year-old should be playing this game, but they are.
They are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So when they're playing a game that is over the course of years here, games have been conditioning them
Yeah. To be.
to accept
Yeah,
the
buy it.
boxes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
$5. That's fine.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They grew up on mobile phones.
Right.
A lot of kids now.
And so
Yeah.
to me, that's where the issue. That's one of
Yeah.
the big issues is
Absolutely.
how are these actually being used? And I mean, to Activision's credit on this, the game's mature rated.
Yeah.
Kids shouldn't be playing it.
Right.
Yeah.
If
Correct.
you've got an addictive personality, you probably shouldn't be playing things with loot. You
Even
take
though
care
they're
of yourself.
counting on your
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah.
Even
So-
though I'm counting on it. Yep.
Do you feel that all this stuff, and because we're kind of starting to get into that larger topic, do you feel that that they should be held as should it be classified as gambling?
No, not most of the time, and the reason for that is it may have been, I think it was Waypoint Radio is the one who pointed this out and made me kind of go, that's what it is. When you gamble, I may be spending $20 and get none of that back.
Yeah.
When you buy a loot box, you are getting something back. So yes, I'm not going to pretend there's no element of gambling
Yeah,
to it.
sure.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get, but it's
Right.
no different than a gachapon machine. You put in your quarter, you crank it, you get something
It's
back.
a really
It
good
might
one.
it might not be the toy that you wanted.
Yeah.
especially in the case of Battlefront.
Yeah.
But you're getting something.
It's a little fraction of the foot of the monster toy that you wanted.
Yeah.
And
then you
just
can
to
buy
keep
more.
going.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that because there are gambling
point.
sites like Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike recently was like shut down. They're like no more gambling sites, so on and so. Because they're kids, man. The kids play this game and they're like spending hundreds of dollars on skins and all this stuff. That you're right in the point where like they don't spend money to expect to get money back or something like that. They do get something back, like loot crates in Blizzard, Overwatch. I'm okay with that. They're just aesthetics and all that stuff, and you can easily get it with your in-game money currency, anyways.
Right.
So, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, if a loot box opened up and it was like
Empty.
better look next time.
Yeah, I was like, oh my
then
god.
it would be an issue.
I know.
I paid EA $5 and I got nothing in return.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm a little okay with it. Still, they've been pushing the line for years, and this year, as of coming Friday, they've stepped over it.
Yeah.
And so
so your definitive line is to buy to win. You think Battlefront 2 has done that then?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no question. Loot boxes, it isn't just aesthetics. Very little, actually. Not as much of it is aesthetics. It is gear that is going to, and it's 4 tiers of gear. So just like with Destiny, you got your different. Yeah. So when I get killed by someone and I see they've got all purple gear, they've opened a lot more loot boxes than I am. What am I wanting to do?
That is ridiculous.
So
oh my gosh.
It's varying degrees. So like my character might have a boost that I got a card that gives him I think it's, let's say 5% health regen boost.
Right.
But then you and I are in a firefight.
Yeah.
And I die real quick.
Yeah.
And your card pops up, and I see that you've got a 20% health regen. But oh my god. There's a lot. That's
basic damage buffs and stuff. Like in Starfighter, it's 5 to
beyond
like
ridiculous.
5, 10, 15, 20. I think if I'm right, if are the numbers.
You're 100%
It goes up to
right.
20.
Yeah, 20% additional damage.
I'm thinking
per
like
shot.
1.3.
No,
like
and
5, 10, 15,
is
20, 25.
And I mean,
unbelievable.
No matter how much it actually affects the gameplay, I mean, it's right. The numbers are there. It's right there in our faces.
Oh yeah,
they're telling you.
They're telling you. Yeah. I mean, so.
And if you're competitive, I mean, if you play multiplayer games to be competitive, that ruins the entire experience.
Yeah. If you're playing it just to, if you're playing just to win, but what's the point? What's the reward for people that do that? To me, I'm just like, there's no point in that.
Well, this is how they do the reward. They're not even necessarily. I'm looking up a little bit of stats that I got today for this, but they're not even necessarily rewarding just for the star cards and better, just for the pay to win stuff. You'll get the items you need to upgrade your star cards just within opening loot boxes, but they're also hiding heroes and unlockable weapons behind credits, in-game currency, which you can convert from crystals, which are the purchased currency.
Oh my god!
You can take over if you want on that.
I was gonna say, I actually wrote down notes on this just to make sure I didn't forget points, because I'm calling it the perfect shitstorm.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people who now. The problem is, if something upsets people and we start to be vocal about it, if it goes on more than a hot minute, which is the length of attention spans in this day and age, it's officially, it goes from being this is something worth being upset about to you guys just need to calm down and get over it. Real gamers earn their stuff. So the problem is that they didn't just do one thing that was offensive or one thing that was questionable.
Right.
They did so. You got the pay to win stats that we talked about.
Right.
They've got a terrible economy. Now I wrote down when I last was playing the standard loot box, which can hold anything between, I think it's 2 to 4. I've seen videos with 5, but I've never seen above 4 in my.
I never did either.
Yeah. So you spend 4,000 in-game currency. So that's another thing that's they've got multiple currencies, which not new, but that's another strike against them.
It's the complicated so you don't really see how it's working.
So I spend 4,000 in-game credits. I get a stat boost for Darth Vader, who is the most expensive character to unlock, and I don't have him. So that's not helpful. and then I get 75 of the in-game credit. Like you mentioned that you can technically get everything in-game, and this actually just today they did an Ask Me Anything on Reddit, which was bad
that
call.
was the worst idea.
Bad call.
You know who Jim Sterling is?
Yeah.
He's got he has a tweet saying the problem with Ask Me Anything is that EA said Ask Me Anything will answer what's easy to answer.
It's like, you can ask me anything. We're not going to answer anything. So here's the economy bit is, yes, I can technically get everything in the game just by playing it.
Yeah.
But we've established that Darth Vader cost. They lowered it.
Yeah.
So now he's down.
He cost 60,000 originally.
Okay, so now he's down to
10,000.
10,000. Okay, I got 75 credits. Or maybe 175.
Yeah.
Either way, it wasn't more than that. And then 5 parts. Now, I think they're called parts, or what you can use to either unlock cards that you don't have, or upgrade cards that you already have. I think at the lowest level is $40 or 40 parts to do that. So in a loot box that took me a while to get enough currency to
4 or 5 rounds, or
I spent 4,000 credits to get a boost for a character I'm not going to have for a very long time, and parts and currency that barely will chisel at anything else. So I guess if you're gonna if I'm gonna back to that gambling thing, if I'm gonna pay you $5 for something, you give me $5 worth of good.
Yeah.
So if I give you 4,000 in-game currency, I should be getting things that are gonna feel like a reward. None of that did, so that's a problem.
Got 75 back.
Yeah.
So the fact that you mentioned they dropped it 75,
there's a fun little thing to that. Though.
What's that?
So they dropped everything, the cost of all the heroes by 75%, but they didn't mention that they also dropped your rewards by a similar ratio.
The rewards drop was
campaign, right?
Only for the campaign, because they wanted you to have exactly enough at the end of the campaign to get the protagonist's, I can't remember her name.
Iden Versio.
There we go.
Yeah.
So they wanted you to have enough funds to get her. So that's the only reason they dropped that. Which I'm still they were
accidentally generous and gave you 20,000 originally.
Yeah.
Which then they're like,
whoa, get her.
Whoa! They gave you 5,000.
So again, it's the whole point of this is a reward. When I end the campaign, it's like we only wanted you to have enough to get her.
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
that's so silly.
Because we want you to buy more boxes. That's why.
And if you're going to complain to someone that something they have is too expensive, they're going to roll it back 10%. They're going to roll it back 25%.
Oh, yeah.
They may roll it back 50%.
Yeah.
They rolled it back 75%. I mean, in a heartbeat. That shows that
was
they knew
shitstorm.
Yeah, they knew
the perfect
what
storm
was going on there.
Yeah.
So, and then I said the unlocks weren't rewarding. The problem is, well, we'll get into the full game, I guess, later. But they made a stack of errors, and that's only there's several other things. If we talked long enough, I go, oh, and another thing.
Yeah,
I know. It's so true.
And that's what's really a shame is, and again, we'll talk. I wish that the conversation about this game is what I feel while playing it, and that is that I'm actually having a really good time playing this game.
Okay.
They made it's a very good campaign. I've seen people saying that it takes 4 hours. It does not,
unless you speedrun it or something.
On easy, maybe.
Yeah.
A lot of reviewers, and there's nothing wrong with this, but a lot of reviewers do kick it down to easy because
so beat it.
if I'm dying at a tough section 10 times in a row, I'm eating away at review time.
Right.
So maybe. But even then, I'm playing on. I like to play normal because I like the way I look at it. I want to play what they think is the experience they wanted me to have.
Yeah, they intended for you to play.
Right, and that way, and also, I mean, I'm hitting difficulty spikes, so I'm able to say that. If I was playing on easy, I would be like, just breeze through it, no problem.
Yeah, right.
Even if I was playing this on easy, there's I think 13 missions in a prologue, and each mission is lasting a good 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm at a 6, 7 hours. It's a good length campaign.
Yeah.
It's acceptable.
It is full of Easter eggs, and
it's
a love letter to fans.
I
know, and that's the problem is
I'm sitting in my office. Kylo Ren is standing behind me, decapitated.
All the Star Wars around us.
I didn't want that to be good. I wanted to hear there was shit.
Yeah, and that is the problem. Is I think the real victims here, if we're going to say victims, and this is assuming, of course, that the developer and the publisher's decisions are as separate as we seem to feel that.
I would assume that they are.
Yeah.
The folks at DICE, actually there's 3 studios I think working on it.
Yeah, Criterion, Motive, and
right. So
DICE.
those people put in years of work and actually delivered what is, and my review will be out probably around the time this goes live. Like
Embargo's up. Yours good.
Oh yeah. So yeah, what was it? Oh yeah, so
the artists and the developers.
These people put in a lot of time and made a game that was clearly just poured love into it. It looks great.
Oh, beautiful.
They took what I thought was a shell of a game, the original Battlefront, and didn't just expand on. They just blew it out of the water. There's more maps, and then they've got the. I can in my head see this perfectly normal, perfect regular game.
Yeah.
And EA comes in chomping a cigar and says,
I want money.
Here are these systems that we're going to implement. I mean, the upgrade system, the leveling system is so convoluted, it's almost impenetrable.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know how, like, average gamers are going to, like, you don't know, like, they're not, it took forever to, there's so many problems with this, with that system.
Yeah.
That there's no way someone, and these guys have made a lot of games and know how to do leveling up.
Oh yeah,
they know how to reward players.
Absolutely.
There's no way that they went, let's do this for fun. I bet EA would enjoy it.
EA walked in with a body bag written visceral on it and said, "Get to work on it."
Throw it down on the table.
R.I.P.
I know, right? But I feel like that they've been doing this for EA has been doing this for so long. Not only in the Star Wars Battlefront series, but they've been doing it in the FIFA series for a long time now. Madden now recently in the last few years, buying those cards. Oh hey, you want a fantasy team? You can play fantasy on ours, but you have to buy packs. Packs are like $5 a pack, and you can get Deion Sanders. You can blah blah blah. I'm just like, what in the world? I'm like, I played FIFA one time in the last like 3 years. And I got to that part where I just playing, and I'm like, wait, what is this? And I'm like, a card trading game inside. So I was curious at first, and then it kind of started to get me, and I was like, I started getting players that I wanted. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. And it's like, diving deeper and deeper, and I realized at one point, I'm like, I spent like $50 in this game. And I'm like, what is? I was like, what's wrong with me?
And you're not even.
You
don't even.
I know.
Those usually.
I stepped back, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, why did I spend $50 on top of the $20 or $30 I spent on this game? And I was like, I'm not playing this game anymore. I was like, I knew it was bad for me.
They make hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's what I was going to say.
On FIFA.
The problem is when we're having this conversation, I sit here and I think we all look at each other and go, we're sane human beings. Right. No one wants this.
Right.
Clearly,
yeah.
EA's, when they put out their numbers, it's like, well, we are the very small minority.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Like, they make a lot of money on this, so it makes perfect sense. That's why everyone's getting a little annoyed, and I agree. I appreciate it with the games as service moving to more open world. It's because they want you to spend $60, not take your game back to GameStop, and then keep spending money on it.
Oh, yeah.
And the trick is to figure out, like, people are, Destiny went for 3 years of doing that. But Destiny came out with more content.
Yeah.
They had more DLC. They got some skins and stuff you can buy.
Right.
But their big money that came after the $60 investment was, and the first 2 were a little rough, but they figured it out.
Sure.
Right.
Now they want you to buy this game, and they want to give you some activities and stuff to do in this world, and maybe they'll expand it a little bit here and there sometimes. Yeah. But what they want is for you to just have a reason to keep spending money. Yeah. And
that's ridiculous.
It makes perfect business sense.
Business sense, yeah.
But it's consumer hostile.
I assume EA is more of a business than it is a game studio or publisher. I'm just like, everything they do is cutthroat. I'm saying, like, cutthroat, they want money. It's at the end of the day for them, it's just cash.
Shareholders have probably never picked up a controller in their lives.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're a gamer and you want to go into the game, like, oh, I appreciate Blizzard, I appreciate blah blah blah. I'm just like, EA is just a cutthroat business. I mean, they've been doing this for years, buying smaller studios, gutting them, incorporating them into their own world, and it's been happening for years. I'm finally glad that EA is getting the light shined on them. Like, hey, you guys have been practicing really weird, because the recent Visceral, like you mentioned, they're making really bad choices.
At home, man.
But then for them to turn around and spend almost like $400 million on Respawn,
and
I'm like,
they're gonna take Respawn out.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell?
That's what they do, man. We're gonna ask Respawn what they'll do. What's the problem with Visceral? Like really quickly, what they did, they closed them down. You could see it coming from a million miles away. They make these Dead Space games, which are brilliant, but it's horror, so it doesn't sell. It's so amazing for horror. 2 million copies for Dead Space, 4 million for Dead Space 3, and then they messed up, or Dead Space 2, excuse me, 4 million for Dead Space 2. Then they messed up Dead Space 3 with all the microtransactions, purchasing your stuff, and they made it an action game. You're shooting at humans. It was co-op. It was what happened, and it was actually a pretty good game.
I like it.
I love Dead Space 3. But it sold 600,000 copies. Yeah, because everyone got. They're like, this is not our game, right? I mean, and then they're like, okay, well, you guys are good at linear third-person story-based horror games. Go make Battlefield.
Yeah,
and then didn't do that.
Not even go make Battlefield.
Hardline.
Go make Hostile Runner, which is again good game.
It was pretty good. Yeah,
but and then so. Yeah, what's funny is I was having a conversation. I was working on the article. I wrote an article about how Visceral's closure should have surprised nobody. Because it does. Yeah. But I was on my rant, and I said, and they released Titanfall 2 in between, literally, in between Battlefield and Call of Duty. Right in that third
1 week.
1 week on either end, because they wanted to really stick it to Call of Duty. And then their
worst marketing decision.
Honestly, probably the best first-person shooter of last year got completely overlooked.
Oh yeah.
So I said, I can just imagine they're going to do this to them next. And I was reminded, oh no, EA doesn't own them. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, they bought them. Which is why our headline, our headline is normal. It says something about them purchasing it. But when we posted it online, the editor chose to say, plans closure 2020.
I know, right?
So it's like, buys them now, plans closure 2020. What's going to happen is they're going to make Titanfall 3, which I think was part of the deal was, you're going to let us... they're going to be, I believe they're making the Star Wars game that...
They better be careful, though. I heard it's single player.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore. It
won't be. Yeah, it won't be now.
Not anymore. They're going to be running on walls.
Some kind of Jedi game with like characters and dialogue and stuff.
There's going to be Titans. There's going to be AT-ATs you can summon and get into. Dude.
For the price of a cup of coffee.
Yeah, for the price of a cup of coffee. You can pilot your own AT-AT.
Yeah, it's supposed to be I guess it's supposed to be they're saying it's a Force-related game. Well, the one that Respawn is making. They're turning the Visceral game into the Destiny. Persistent. No one wants to play single-player games.
Getting a lot of air quotes from Ian.
Sorry.
Those quote
everything EA says can go right in there between these.
Is there a more distrusted publisher out there?
I don't trust any of them, short of Bethesda, which is...
Activision.
I don't trust Activision.
I trust Activision to a certain extent.
Scary.
Again, I keep bringing up the word gross. There's nothing gross to that.
Did you see that patent?
What patent? What did they do?
Okay, here's the idea.
We talked about this.
Yeah, we did.
They say it has not been used in any game.
Yeah.
All right. Sure. I've got an idea for a patent. You're going to be coming in and playing this new hip shooter, right?
Yeah.
And we can tell from the first few rounds that you like sniping. So our algorithm is going to pick what we call a prestige player, a guy who has all the cool shit, who's also a sniper, and we're going to put him on the other team.
What?
Because when you get killed by him, you're going to get the little kill cam, and it's going to show you all his badass gear. Also, would you like to buy some loot crates?
Oh my god!
And that is how the algorithm works. And the way that, and I get it, again, you got to... What's frustrating is I talk about them like they're like
the lesser of two evils,
a big gross monster somewhere, and it's like, but these decisions are made by people, so it's really hard to like separate the two. But the wording of it, the way they reference the players,
super cynical.
It really, again,
it's just gross.
It basically sounds like it might as well be lawyer speak for the plebes.
Oh my god!
And the whales.
Yeah,
like we're gonna put the whales. We're gonna put we got these prestige whales that have bought all of our cool crap, and we're gonna pair them with a guy who's gonna see it and is gonna want to become one of them.
How to turn players into payers.
Yes, exactly.
I'm writing that down.
Once it got found, they came out and said, it's the technology is, but it hasn't been used in any games
yet.
And it's like,
thanks guys. And a patent is, it sounds much more scary than it is. Companies get patents. GE bought a patent for a light bulb that never dies, so that make sure that no one ever sees that. So you keep buying light bulbs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing. just because they're going to buy a patent doesn't
mean they're going to
guarantee
incorporate
they
it.
can
Yeah.
use it. But why wouldn't they?
Yeah,
at this
why wouldn't
point?
they? Yeah.
Honestly, just because that's their patent doesn't mean it's not being used elsewhere. It's
Yeah.
Right.
It's the fact that we're seeing in black and white that all of our worst fears of how they think of players
starting
how
to
they want
outline.
to-
Yeah, starting to come
it's,
true.
It's
yeah.
right there
Yeah.
in a document. Like
It's like
yes,
a picture graph.
it isn't
Yeah.
just by chance that this stuff happens. We're
Yeah.
doing it specifically to try to get more money out of you.
Yeah.
And again, they're a business. I get that, but
Yeah.
there are better ways to do it.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and the excuse that it costs so much more to make games nowadays. Games don't
Yeah.
need to be made by 3,000 people.
No, yeah,
Like,
and that's where the layoffs come in.
Yeah.
It's because
The more people
you
listen,
hire,
the
yeah,
better.
the hire more people, and then you start having unsuccessful games, not as successful as the predecessor, blah blah blah. And then you're like, okay, I need to let go of like 100 people, and then maybe 100 people there. It's this vicious cycle, and it's just such a cutthroat industry. I remember when I was because I went to school to program for games and stuff like that, and it's like, as soon as I really didn't know, like out of high school, I'm like, oh dude, it'd be cool to be in the game industry.
Said
But
everyone.
I know, right? Said
Yeah.
everyone. So as soon as I started getting to know the industry, I'm like, whoa, this is
Just dirty.
this is really messed up. I'm like,
Brutal.
what the heck is going on? I'm like, you have like zero job security unless you're like the cream of the crop,
Right.
the best of the best. And I'm like, yeah, zero job security. You could be working in Edmonton, Alberta, and then you're like, oh, you get laid off there, and you can have to take a job in Texas somewhere.
Texas,
I was
Austin,
like,
Texas.
yeah, I was like,
You go
what the-
from Bioware to Bioware.
yeah, Bioware,
Pick it
yeah,
up there,
yeah,
Edmonton to
that
Austin.
just happened to it come up like that.
That was
But,
natural from Bioware.
But yeah, it was just like I'm like, so I immediately stopped what I was doing. I was like, I'm not doing this. This is too scary. I'm like, I could lose my job anytime.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do that. So it's the industry itself has just become like all about money, because I feel like it was
Yeah.
lucrative at first. So, people were like, whoa, people can make money off of this, like selling
Bigger than
merchandise.
movies, it's
Yeah,
bigger than music.
movies and merchandise, and then they just like the corporate people started invading all of the art industry and started like, I can make money off of this person, I can make money off of that person.
I was gonna say,
Like,
you're not the guy who makes the money. It's the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
You'll
no.
work or be.
They put in all the work, they put in all the effort,
Yeah.
and then they might have a bonus based on a Metacritic score.
Right,
And they
exactly.
just work themselves to death.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, I've seen
remember
that
seeing-
too. Like 60, 80 hours work weeks. I'm like, what?
And I remember seeing an interview with Amy Hennig. She wrote like, a lot of the Uncharted games, or all the first three Uncharted
yeah.
games. And she was saying how she would work 80 to 100 hours every single week for years.
Unbelievable.
Speaking of
Look
this,
what they did to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's still on the project, which blew me away.
which is well, I mean, again, you talk about job security. It might be I gotta do something.
Yeah,
What's-
I know.
it's either I
I
start
can't
over.
imagine
Yeah.
Amy Hennig having a hard time getting a job.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, but
Yeah.
She's sticking with it. I mean, they must have promised her they're going to
A
keep
lot,
some of her
yeah.
vision
I would
intact,
assume,
I
yeah.
guess.
the more I think about an Uncharted game set in Star Wars world, which is exactly everything
Yeah.
they described about it.
Made by the
Like,
creators of Dead Space.
I just want to like lay on the ground and roll around like the back, like yes,
Hurts
and I
so
will
bad
never
when I
going to
can't-
play it.
No,
Yeah.
And
I've never.
Yeah.
Not,
That's sad.
not at all.
thanks, EA.
I know, right? Now I want to ask you
monsters
guys.
you are.
We're at a point here.
Yeah.
Is everyone okay with going pretty well over an hour?
That's fine.
Yeah,
man.
we-
It's a
we-
special
we're-
occasion, man.
We're at 45
Special-
minutes.
Oh,
already.
wow.
Special occasion.
Normally our
It's really only
our
up to him.
podcast.
Yeah.
We don't have anything to
Exactly.
do.
We don't have anything to do anything. You got to drive ahead of you. So.
I'm fine.
Okay. This
Special
is good.
occasion. Woo, woo.
Yeah, right. This is a special episode. So I just want to let you guys know where we are. We're at like 43 minutes ish
Oh,
right now.
nice. Okay.
But
Got a couple more topics though, right?
yeah, we have some stuff. I mean,
We'll wrap up the Star Wars stuff and EA and all that.
I mean, there's not too much to.
I just want to let you know we're brought to you by.
I know, right?
Brought to you by
Oh, yeah, I know, right? EA.
some kind of foundation for a wounded gamer project.
Brought to you
I
by
was right now tell you, I was like, oh, by the way, Activision had me.
Yeah,
They paid me to come in here and
I know, right?
did not have me.
No,
Find out.
What a shill.
I know, right? Oh, God.
But I mean, on the topic, because you're saying you're playing Battlefront right now. Are you going to be doing the review for that?
Yeah, that was man. It was a wild week. So when everyone says when they hear what I do, Reviews are only part of it. I mean, I write
Sure.
multiple
You read all
stories
kinds
a
of
day.
stuff. I've got actually one of your articles pulled up for a later topic.
Nice.
He's like, yeah, me, go me.
I just want to tell you how great you are.
Should have gotten higher.
When people
Get the crown. Get the crown.
when people hear about video games writing, they're like, "Oh, I'd love to write about video games. I'm great at video games."
Yeah.
And that's always the thing that kind of I'm like, you need that's cool.
That's part of it.
You need to get good at writing
Yeah.
or podcasting or
Yeah.
video. Like if
Yeah.
you want to do that part of it. If you're
Yeah.
great at video games, esports.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
Go make great money.
Yeah, I know,
People are
right?
like, oh, you get to review games. That must be great. Well, until you've played an RPG that lasts 60 hours that's terrible
Oh my gosh.
in the span of like 4
Oh,
days.
that's right.
They're
You
not all-
have to finish
Or
it.
play like
You have
Aladdin
to.
for Wii or something.
I know, right? Can I request not to do that?
Sometimes you'll get something sent and I'm like, I really don't want to.
I
do
bet
that.
you hate Japanese RPGs.
Oh, no, I love RPG.
Oh, you really?
But
Okay.
what I was using as a
Right.
reference is sometimes I get a game, and I will say in a review,
Yeah.
like if I get deep enough in and
Yeah.
it's clear things aren't changing,
Yeah.
and I'm just not having a good time,
Yeah.
it's like I will say, look, I didn't make it to the end.
Yeah.
But I still need to play it long enough
Yeah.
to get to that
get
point
there.
where I feel comfortable saying that.
Right.
Like that, where I mean,
You're always hoping that it'll change at some point, right?
I want to
Yeah.
give them the benefit of the doubt
Right.
that some, but again, at the same time, if the first 40 hours of your game, if the first 10 hours of your game
Yeah.
aren't hooking me,
And people will tell you that. They'll tell
Yeah.
you, just stick around for like 20 hours. It gets really
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
And
right.
you're like,
Sure
I'm
thing.
not doing that.
Yeah.
I don't have time.
He doesn't do it for good games.
I know.
How dare you?
Kevin,
Neither
did
does
it.
he.
Oh,
Okay,
let's
let me
let's
bring
stop
you into
pointing
our
fingers.
little conflict here.
Okay.
Put
We
it
have a
right at me.
conflict. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is one of my favorite games
Oh, here we
Okay.
go.
of all time.
I'm gonna guess 500 hours.
No, actually, I've only done a single playthrough pre-DLC,
Okay.
about 102 hours.
Don't even bring up Skyrim.
I'm gonna come back.
You gotta pump those numbers up.
I'm gonna go back into Witcher. I was purposely waiting a while, but we have this whole thing. I just
Oh,
give
no,
them
here we
endless
go.
grief because they don't play it,
Right.
and they love great games.
I played it.
They love great games.
He won't
They
even
would
touch it.
both love that fuck out of that
I
game.
played 40 hours
He
of
won't
that
play it.
game.
He got a free copy on Steam.
I
won't
paid for
play
mine.
it. You paid
Twice.
for yours. How long are you?
I have it on
in
both consoles. What?
How far are you?
Like
in?
40 hours.
40 hours.
So yeah,
That's good.
apology accepted.
Getting there.
Thank
Oh
you.
yeah. It's-
Yell at that guy.
Came out 2 years ago.
Here's my excuse. I don't like to commit to
I
things.
know.
You know.
Oh, God.
When you're
How
playing
many
that
hours do
game,
you have in Overwatch?
I mean,
But it's
okay,
constant
right,
non-committal.
right,
A committal to
Sorry.
constant non-committal. Is
Yeah.
That's
different.
comfort food. That's
Sorry.
your.
Right.
It's always just another 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's
Ryan
his
gets
bay.
me.
That's
Yeah.
not his thing.
I know, it's my side. It's my side. Yeah, no. But yeah, see, Ryan gets me, man. He knows, man. But no, seriously.
I've stopped giving you shit.
I know,
but I just like to
the
have
thing-
fun with it.
I
now.
know. I appreciate that Witcher 3 is a great game. I know it is.
I know you do.
I know it is. But for me, it's like I played The Witcher 2, right? And I'm playing. I'm like, I put a good 20 hours into that. And I'm playing. I'm like, this is good. You know, I just like. I guess there just wasn't something there that hooked me and wanted me to and make me come back to it. You know,
Sure.
like the world itself. I'm like, it's cool. It was like, you know, you're like supernatural hunting beasts and stuff like that. I'm just like, it's cool, but I don't know. It just wasn't my thing. You
Sure.
know, I'm like, so I appreciate it that I know that.
3 was a lot better than 2.
Yeah,
They're
that's
not
not-
even close
oh, I know.
to
Not
being
I
the
even,
have-
same.
not even close.
I know. I've been one of these days.
Even
No, I won't. At this point, I just like giving a shit about it. I don't even care.
Same thing with The Last of Us. He does that
Last
same
and
thing. to
Horizon
us.
is-
No, I've given up on that too.
Yeah.
I've given up on that as well.
But I get the same grief though because it's kind of like when if someone's a comedian, tell me a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When someone finds out I write about video games,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, so you must have really liked fill in the blank."
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, I didn't get to that one.
Yeah.
You write about video games. What do you mean you haven't
Yeah.
gotten to
Because
that
you
one?
have to spend
It's
all
because
the
I'm a
time.
human being that has
Yeah.
a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'm
quite a few video games.
Yeah.
Speaking of RPGs, that's the hardest one for me to play because
Yeah.
if I'm going to play something for me, if I'm
Yeah.
not in the middle of a review or something,
Right.
I want to get through it.
Yeah.
And something that takes 10, 20 hours
Yeah.
is
To
perfect.
commit, yeah.
If I know that there's like a big RPG,
Yeah. Like
even
Witcher
no
3.
matter how much I really want to play,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to be able to.
Right.
That was actually
exactly.
something I really wanted to bring up to you because as a person who writes for games, and I follow a lot of streamers and YouTubers and people who play games for their income, and they do it for entertainment. A lot of them talk about how it's important to put aside time to enjoy video games. And
Yep.
A lot of people don't do it, and they kind of get
Get
burnt
burnt
out
out,
on
yeah.
gaming. Do you ever feel any of that? Do you get time to play?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
even a game that I'm enjoying. If you're playing it for 10-hour stretches, like I used to be back in the day, right? As a kid,
We're all there.
I wake up Saturday morning, grab a drink and sit down, and suddenly it's Saturday night.
Right.
And your parents say, "Have you been playing that?"
Yeah.
I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Writing about games is my second job.
Right.
So that's on top of a full work week, on top of everything else. So even if it's a game I'm enjoying, and honestly, Destiny is probably my go.
That's my game right now. Yeah.
I try to get in a few hours a week. And I don't look at it. I get in a few hours a week.
Yeah.
If I go a week without playing Destiny, I feel like something's missing out.
Yeah.
It's that thing in the background.
Yeah.
That I just
Right.
Absolutely.
It's
something
my
to fall
comfort
back
food.
on. Yeah.
It's the thing that kind of recenters me. I can drop down into a patrol and I'm zoned out. Like
Yeah.
most games, if I'm playing them, I need to be paying attention.
Right.
But if you're running patrols or even doing strikes nowadays, once you know this, you can just sit there and just kind of zone out, and 30 minutes to an hour passes by, and it's just the endorphin.
Yeah, and I feel like the same thing about like reading and TV. Sometimes when you after a hard day's work, you kind of want to tune out a little bit. You just want to let your brain
watch a show or
something like that. And versus like reading when you're invested into it. You have to you have to know where you left off, what's going on in it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So sometimes I'm in the mood where I'm like, okay, I want to read a book or play a deep, in-depth RPG, or I want to play Overwatch, like a 20-minute match, and then, okay, I'll play that, and then I'll just get off, or something like that. Destiny, play a mission or something like that. So it's just like, the harder you work in a work week, I just feel like, for me, it's like stressed out. I'm just like, I just want to get on, just kill something.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, it's just some easy kind of escape.
And that's just how all the different games engage everyone's brain.
Yeah, different. That's why there's so many different genres.
So I keep playing those games not as something of like, oh boy, like I better get ready to play a long game.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of games where I totally disconnect because I'm listening to their dialogue and their problems and their conflicts, and I'm invested in their story. I'm not even thinking about mine at all. There's no loading screen. I'm playing Assassin's Creed right now. I'm like 40 hours in. I'm just I don't.
You don't even realize
I'm
the
fine.
time's on.
That's so it's the same release, just through the different styles of the different media, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to ask you like pretty basic stuff, but I want to ask and see if, or not if, but like. From A, B, C, however many steps there are, like, how do you approach a review? So, like, even something as simple as how do you get assigned reviews? Like, who tells you, okay, you're going to do this, and, like, how much input do you have on that?
Right.
Through, like, do you have, like, a laptop up and you're taking notes and pausing and, like, to remember certain points you're trying to make? Do you go with your general impressions? And then how long do you get to write it, and how do you, like just kind of like that?
Can you make special requests as well for, like, the assignments? Can you make, hey, I want to do this game, or I kind of give your genres what you like typically.
Yeah, my editor, he knows. Usually he knows what consoles I have, but he also knows just based on the stories I'm really eager to write about, or the stories that I put more. It's clear that I put more attention into.
Right.
They know what you like.
They know what I like. But over the years, after you start writing for a site or something like that, going to a couple of conferences and interviewing folks, people start. They have my name, so I'll get. I mean, in any given week, I can get a good 12 reviews thrown at me.
Wow.
Now these are games from everyone's heard of them
titles to indie games.
The what now?
Johnny's Cabbage Patch.
Like no joke.
You got a coach to do the Cabbage Patch.
Johnny's Cabbage Patch. Part 2.
Hello Kitty Adventure Island.
Episode 2.
And I would love to be able to to do all of them, obviously, but that just isn't how it works. But basically, if it's something that piques my interest or I think is going to hit with people, I'll forward it to my editor and say, hey, they're asking me if I want to do a review. And the other side of it is he's getting the same emails and more, and he'll get a hold of me and say, hey, Ryan, what happened last Friday, because we were talking about this actually, nowadays, a lot of publishers will send you a game right at the wire. I've received games that were overnighted.
Is it because they've been getting bad reviews or not?
I don't believe that is part. I don't believe that is part.
Bethesda's kind of turned that on its head.
Yeah, they've started. I've actually gotten, even though they stated, what was it, like a year ago or something, maybe even 2 years at this point, they weren't going to be sending out reviews early. I've gotten several of theirs early.
Oh.
And because I think, like with Prey, I got, gosh, at least a week in advance. And I think it's because it was going to go under the radar. Yeah. And they want people to know about their games. And I think that says a lot about them realizing, hey, maybe, you know, there's more to this. Maybe it's I think it's a matter of wanting to control the information no matter what the information is. And I don't mean that as a negative. It's we've spent millions and millions and millions of dollars. We've got a team of 3,000 people. This is the high end of it.
This is
our game is coming out on this day. That's why they get so people who say, you know, why are they worried about leaks? What does it matter? We saw the trailer early because they have paid people to plan this stuff
I know, right?
to the letter. So when we get a review copy early, it's really nice, and that's what actually happened last Friday. I got Skyrim for the Switch.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't come out till
until like the end of this month, right?
No, it comes out Friday this week.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
The embargo is up.
So is VR, I think.
Yeah, VR as well.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, that's going to ruin me if it gets rid So,
I think it is.
So we
Has anyone seen Ryan?
Yeah, right.
It's going to work in like a year.
He insists you call him Dovahki now.
No,
He answers his phone.
He's just hooked up to a machine that keeps him fed on sludge.
Ryan, you have to come to work.
No, I don't. I'm saving the world. Let's work.
So I'm protecting you.
So I got that review, and this is the kind of stuff this doesn't happen too often. And it has nothing to do other than scheduling, and that was I had a week to work on that review, so I'm playing it all through the weekend. Yeah. Monday gets here, and Battlefront, their embargo ends on Tuesday, and Monday they send the review copy.
Oh my gee, thanks.
So and you know, so the editor makes the logical call. This becomes priority because we need to. This way, both of my reviews are going to be past embargo, but neither one of them are going to be super past embargo.
Right.
So
prioritize.
Right. So I stopped mid Dragon Murder.
Yeah. No.
Jumped into being a Jedi. Cool week.
Yeah.
I've been just mainlining that because even though the embargo's up, the game doesn't come out till Friday, so I'm trying to get my review ready for Friday. Yeah. And then early next week, so it'll be several days late, but early next week, Skyrim on Switch. Okay. So that kind of stuff happened. And people are like, oh, so it means that every waking moment that I can spare, I'm playing a video game, which sounds great to a lot of people.
But when you're doing it at your level,
well, when you also know
you're analytical about it, and your brain's always engaged, you know. Yeah. So with the review copies, are they always full games, or are they limited to like one level, or
no? I think it's always full games.
Always full games. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
I'm getting less physical games sent now.
Yeah.
Everyone's even Nintendo. I get digital from Nintendo, which is weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you figured that out yet?
Yeah. Right.
They're slowly but surely figuring it out.
We're still not sure about like chat on the console.
Yeah, no, we don't talk about that.
But digital.
Don't shit.
Go play Mario, okay?
Oh, no, I love it.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna get a Switch someday.
It's good stuff.
I do want. I'm a big Nintendo critic. Okay. And everyone thinks I hate them, but I love them.
Okay.
And I hate them because I love them.
Criticize what we love, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But as far as the review process goes, it really does vary for the game. But usually, what I do is I can't sit there. And I feel I'm not giving myself the experience that I should be experiencing if I'm constantly writing. Mm-hmm. So about every hour, I'll take a break, write down my thoughts and things like that. But the way my brain works is, like if I'm sitting there in the middle of the night and I'm going to bed and I'm thinking, oh shoot, I need to do something tomorrow. Yeah. If I don't write it down, I'll think about it all night, and by the time the morning gets there, I'll have forgotten it. Yeah. If I write it down, I don't even need to see the note. Yeah. I'll remember it. So my notes are there for reference, but once I've written a lot of the stuff down,
it's already in.
Yeah, I kind of sit down and I start to write, and I'll reference the notes if I need to, but usually it just kind of pours out of me. Yeah. And then I start going through the notes, and I'm like, yep, talked about that, talked about that, talked about that, talked about that. Yeah. So that's a good way to do it. Yeah, cool, kind of my process. I mean, that's just how I do it, but I've heard people who have the computer. I've heard people who basically are kind of reviewing as they go, which like that seems crazy to me. That I don't know how that works, but there comes a point in a game where you just kind of go, especially a longer game, because we talked about like, do you play all of it? If the game is about 30 hours, I will play. I mean, it's a range, but I will make sure I play all of it. Right. If I'm playing an RPG, you're going to hit about hour 40, 50, where you realize, look, they're not going to suddenly turn this into a first-person shooter. I'm not like, I can tell the average person, look, this game's good or this game is bad. I'm not gonna get, someone's gonna be like, hey, you didn't mention that this huge thing shifted at hour 80. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, but I think I had experienced enough where even if a game at hour 30 becomes fantastic, but before that was terrible,
that's still a problem.
It's really hard for me to tell someone.
It's still a problem. Yeah.
So, well, what about and I'm kind of being devil's advocate just because I'm curious, but like something like Mass Effect 3, you could spend 70 hours playing that game. So if you play it for 50, 60 hours, you're like, this is a great game,
right? But
you don't get to the ending, and in your review, you're not able to discuss the ending. Does that ever come? Like, have you ever had that come back to bite you a little bit, like on a story-based game?
For me, it hasn't. I could see how people how it could be an issue, but
the ending ruined everything.
You think about it doesn't take 60 hours to read most books.
Yeah, I know.
It takes 2 hours to read to read a movie. In Japanese. To watch a movie. It takes 30 minutes to watch a television show, or it takes 8 hours to watch Stranger Things season 2.
Right?
So I get people saying you should experience the whole thing, but at the same time, if I'm 20 hours into a thing and I've got a pretty good idea how I feel about it, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
So
no, I totally agree with that. I feel like I could write a review on Assassin's Creed right now.
Yeah, 40 hours probably. Yeah.
I feel like the problem with a lot of games for me is like if you can't hook me within the first 10 hours of this game.
That's generous.
That's huge.
I know. I'm like 5 hours.
Yeah, I'm like, if you need to hook me immediately, or otherwise, I'm like, just my opinion of your game is just gonna digress every hour. What?
The opening is super important. So
if
any of you guys do play Assassin's Creed, please get.
That's what I keep hearing about it. Yeah, is the opening of Assassin's Creed is its its biggest down.
Man.
Dragon Age, Inquisition, the hinterlands, you can stay there for 30 hours. But people say. A lot of people are like, oh, the beginning wasn't getting me. It's like, just get out of the hinterlands.
Just go.
Just get out of there. It gets better.
Yeah.
And that can be tricky. But I mean, that's again, as a critic, if I'm saying, look, I played it for 10 hours and it bored the hell out of me. What reason do I have to?
Right. It's up to the studio and the publishers to make that game enticing.
Here's my review. It wasn't good enough for me to keep going.
Yeah, I know.
So. But yeah, definitely have not experienced that with the games I've been playing recently. They've all been I've been very lucky on that one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's been good.
I also want to know, what do you do in the droughts? Like, what happens when there's like the summer droughts usually come around? There's like no AAA titles coming out. You review some of the lower games, or just kind of like.
I discovered that there's this really good game I like to play. It's called Outside.
I've never heard of it.
Right? Is that VR or like?
You've come to the wrong place.
Some kind of IRL kind of.
I genuinely love the droughts. I used to hate them because what that does is it gives me a chance to play those games that I wanted to play that I haven't gotten around to.
Me too.
Yes.
I feel like droughts are kind of disappearing.
I've had Nier Automata sitting on my shelf since it came out.
Neo is the one for me.
I haven't got the Neo either. Yeah.
I really want to play it. Shit.
I bought Nier because I'm like, I'm going to play this. But what happens to me a lot of the time is I've got a pretty good idea of the review calendar, but a lot of times games will surprise me. Like, for instance, Skyrim.
Yeah.
My editor had asked me weeks ago, like, hey, if we get that, would you be interested in writing about it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I forget about it, and then he's like, hey, Skyrim came in. I'm like, oh no!
Oh yeah, but I was looking forward to it.
That's actually a perfect example. Yeah. I was maybe 2 worlds into Mario Odyssey. And so I haven't gone back to that.
Yeah,
how could you?
I'm really looking forward to that because I was really enjoying Mario Odyssey, but that game, honestly, since I've got this going on right now. I'll have Skyrim out next week. Barring any other reviews, I might have a little window, but the new Destiny expansion comes out in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's going to, whatever I'm playing, it's going to kill. So,
I had a question as well. For a game like Skyrim, I know not Skyrim in this case because you're really reviewing it for Switch.
Right.
But if a game like that comes out where you talk about 30 hours into a game, 40 hours into a game, I played Skyrim for like 450 hours on one save. How do you go about reviewing a game
that's
like
how
that?
I'm treating that. Actually, that's how I'm treating this review.
30 minutes. It works.
I was only about probably 15 hours in when I was like, I honestly feel comfortable enough. I could, but I want to spend another weekend with it, get it because again, it's Bethesda. You never know. But up to this point, I
Yeah,
had
right.
zero glitches, zero. I mean,
Really?
I raced a horse into a building I shouldn't have, and it got really weird stuff, but I got out of it.
No,
I
that
didn't have to
happens.
reload.
Yeah.
But I was like, one of those moments. Actually, that happened in Battlefront today. I was in multiplayer, and I'm in this weird scrapyard, and I fell into a hole. And I couldn't get out. And I'm like, I don't know. And it was in the map.
Yeah,
So
help.
So I finally went in because I just thrown a grenade before I got in there. So I waited for my grenade to recharge. And
Kill
I was
yourself?
like, sit on it. Bam! All right, I'm out. There's no way to get out of it.
Oh no!
But with Skyrim, I'm basically, as you said, I think I'm probably going to say that in my reviews. I'm basically reviewing Switch right now.
Right.
And
Yeah,
explaining
yeah.
why Switch is fantastic for this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, the game, once with that one, once I get a good feel for it, I think at a certain point I'm going to be like, look, I haven't had any major issues. The frame rate hasn't surprised. Like I've got enough big things going on screen where I can tell that I'm not hitting a bunch of drops like that. So yeah,
Why
I would
would
hope
spend more
Switch-
time than you
I
have
would
to?
really hope
Right.
Switch
Yeah,
did it
because you
right.
already know how the story unfolds. You already know how all the DLC and everything happens.
So there's no
reason
reason to play something like that all the way.
So you're
through.
basically
Yeah,
just checking for technical issues and
Right.
stuff like that.
And if it's a more recent game, I'm pretty sure the site was around once. Yeah, it's been around for a good long time. If it's a more recent game, I've seen. Actually, I saw this with someone else's Skyrim review. I try not to read reviews when I'm doing my own because I don't. But
Yeah.
I saw.
Yeah.
I saw someone say, here's basically my review of this game on the Switch. If you want to read our review from 6 years ago or whatever,
Oh,
here's
yeah.
a link to that.
Yeah.
And they talk about the game in broad
Yeah.
strokes, but they mostly talk about how great it is to play it on the Switch.
I see. Yeah.
Except for with motion controls.
Oh, so you don't put the little nunchucks
I
out?
did?
Come on.
Here's the problem. If you move your hand the slightest, you unsheath your sword.
Oh no!
And if you move it again, so I was sitting in the middle of town,
Yeah.
and I went to scratch my nose,
Yeah.
and my sword came out, and I brought my hand down, and I hit.
Oh, you killed somebody.
I'm like, okay. And it's a little bit of a process to when I go out into the wild, where I don't care who I slap with a sword.
Yeah.
To go into the menus, turn on motion control, and
Yeah.
so it's neat if you want to do that.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm missing something in the menus. I wish it was still push the button to unsheath it,
Yeah.
then swing away all you want.
Yeah.
If they do that,
yeah.
I'll be golden. But
Yeah.
as far as I've seen and tried, I can't figure that out.
You're like a step away from like telepathic
Yeah.
swing.
Like I used the scratching the nose, and that was just an extreme example because I just barely adjust my hand on my lap,
Yeah.
and it would do something. However, turn off the motion controls.
Yeah.
You've never played Skyrim until you've played it like this on the couch.
Oh, that is so
Oh.
funny that you
I'm
say
in a
that.
very erotic pose right now, with hands in different locations. Okay.
Very like a Sports Illustrated
sports-
swimsuit
yeah, I know,
edition.
right?
One hand tucked behind my head, one on my hip.
Draw me
Professional
like,
game
draw me
reviewer
like your
edition.
French girl
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah, I know.
That was one of my favorite things about the Wii. But you still had a cord.
Yes.
With this thing,
Oh
you
my
can,
gosh.
you can stand and lay however you want,
So-
and it's great.
Our friend Jimmy, when he first got his Switch, and I was like, I really am interested to see how these nunchucks work, right? Because I had a Wii U and a Wii, and I'm like, but he's like, dude, I'm only like I would regular controller, right, just right in front of me. But he's like, no, dude, sit back, lay your hands down, and I'm like, what?
He starts rubbing
and
your
I'm like,
shoulder.
yeah, I'm like, wait, what's happening right
He
now?
pulls out a hot
I'm
towel.
like, oh, I'm playing Breath of the Wild when I'm just being a lazy piece of shit. I'm like, this is amazing.
Do the really awkward thing that the Nintendo director did when on the reveal.
Oh my
stage.
God.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
And everyone made fun of him, and then months later,
Yeah,
they're
everyone's doing it.
It's just the commercial everyone loves to make fun of, like, oh yeah, millennials on the rooftop playing Mario Kart,
Yeah.
and now everyone you talk to, yeah, we put out and we play Mario Kart at my friend's party.
Yeah, no, right? Oh, that's what I'm saying. I would be the most excited when we all get Switches and we're having a party. Just let's pull it out, play Splatoon or something like that.
And the piece of
So-
shit that I am, for me, I'm like, I could just play it in the dark in a hotel room.
Yeah.
When I'm, you know,
no one's around.
I can play it on the
That is
plane.
traveling, yeah.
Little kid, I'm playing Skyrim. I love
Let's
that.
just be honest, most people are excited to play Skyrim on the John. Like, that's...
Oh,
What?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
That
Or just
beautiful
like-
music.
If you're soaking in the
Serenading
tub,
And those acoustics and
are you soaking in the tub? Just like hands.
Yeah,
You're like,
You don't
yeah.
even have to have the console in the tub with you. That's a good point.
Yeah,
Just-
exactly.
Just
Just-
the,
yeah, a little-
yeah. Screen can be
You
up
need
on
one of those
the
little tray things, so you
Yeah.
don't like drop in the water.
A little tray on the bathtub. Yeah, you just listen
But
to that.
knowing Bethesda, they're just going to create Skyrim for your shower. So
I know, right?
I got on the Apple Watch recently, and it runs pretty good on there.
Oh, God. I was like, what? Wait, what? I was like, legit?
I gotta go buy Skyrim.
We're gonna believe it at this
I
point.
know, right?
Well, you know, I do want to say, I don't know if this is true, but I'm kind of hoping it is.
What's that?
There's a cynical reaction, I get it, to the constant re-releases of Skyrim. But if the money that they're bankrolling from Skyrim is allowing them to make risky stuff like Wolfenstein 2 and Prey and Dishonored, then keep fucking selling it.
Yeah.
Because that's where they're getting the money.
Ignored, which is driving me crazy. Prey is one of the best games of the year. Nowhere near enough people played it.
Wow, really?
Even like 2 hours into it.
Wolfenstein, it's Bioshock. I mean, I guess you'd call it. It's more like system.
Biospace.
It's a if you've got a hankering for a new Bioshock game, it feeds that need perfectly.
Really?
It's
Okay.
what it is. Yeah. But I mean, it's its own thing, but it's very
that's very esque. Yeah, very
love that game.
Bioshock-esque.
Nowhere near enough people play it. My understanding is that Wolfenstein isn't pulling down phenomenal numbers.
It has sold half as much as the first, as
which
the
is
New Order.
insane.
Which is the first one was amazing. Well, here's the thing. I didn't buy Wolfenstein when it initially came out, anyways.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm one of those people who like, hey, I'm interested in Wolfenstein. Let's wait for a sale. You know, let's grab it. So I could see it. You know, maybe they didn't make how well did they do in the first game on launch
I think it probably had a tail. You know, I mean, it probably got better. But for me, like, the difference is that with all this conversation we're having about Activision and their patent and Battlefront and EA getting rid of Visceral and saying that the problem was that it was a single player game.
I don't want to go full circle.
I mean, I don't want to be hyperbolic. Like, I'm not saying single player games are dead.
Right,
I hate when
right.
people just come out and just make that announcement. But we do vote with our wallets at the end of the day, and
Doom was another one
Doom-
from last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
I mean, they
Oh,
went on sale.
they're
Oh,
making
yeah.
They're making all these single player games,
And no one's
but they're
buying
not selling.
Yeah.
So it's like we look at this stuff and we're like, we want single player games, right?
Yeah.
We're normal people who think logically, of course. So the rest of the world probably thinks that way.
We don't buy it.
But that's
No.
not true.
Yeah,
Like
not
we
true at all.
and a very small number of people support them, and that's a real shame.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
And again, not to give them any, not to pay them any favors, but that's why EA and Activision's decisions make the most sense.
Makes sense.
I mean,
Yeah,
they've got to make money,
Yeah.
and what's making money is these horrible things that they're doing to games.
Yeah. It's sad.
I mean, they've got
it's
to
a
make
sad
money.
state of the industry.
they're beyond that. I mean,
They gotta
EA
make-
made money
they
on
gotta
Dead
make
Space.
a lot of
Yeah.
money.
They want to make
all of the money.
All of the
Yeah, I
money.
mean, if they sold 20 million copies, I feel like they'd be disappointed. You know, I mean, that's how insane they are right now. It's beyond any kind of seemingly realistic.
There's just a huge conglomerate. It's
Yeah.
like we just have so many people under our employment banner
Plus
that we
all the
have.
investors that we
Yeah,
have.
investors, the shareholders, and all that stuff. You know, it's just a business. At the end of the day, it's more like a business than it is like a video game artist publisher thing. You know,
Yeah.
like so.
So that was if that's Skyrim is allowing them to make these amazing.
Oh yeah,
games,
dude. I'm not.
please keep
I do say it every time.
I roll my eyes as well.
Yeah.
I do.
I'm like, but you know, I do have to give props where props are due. Bethesda does go out on a limb and make single player games that a lot of people. I feel like they already know they're not going to sell a lot of copies, you know. But
You think
they, you know.
I don't know if they're hoping against hope or what.
Well, I think they do it for the sake of the gamers. They're. I feel like they're the publisher that the gamers want. You know, like they feel like they have to uphold that mantle.
Yeah.
You know, so with
Then
Todd,
CD
you know,
Projekt Red.
I know.
Keep it
CD
going,
Projekt
keep it
Red.
coming, please.
And you gotta figure, there's a lot of Switch owners who don't own anything other than Nintendo consoles. They maybe went
yeah.
from 3DS to Switch.
Yeah.
They haven't played this game, and
Never.
it holds up. It's not that old.
Yeah.
It holds up wonderfully. I mean, yeah, you
It's
still.
what, 6 years now? 2011?
So not that far off. I mean, it still has all of the issues that it had as far as like a lot of the dialogue sounds like Ren Fair, you know, and that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The animations aren't the best. It doesn't look as good as the remake on the PS4 and the Xbox One,
Sure.
but
it's on the go.
but it's Skyrim and it
You can
works.
play it in the tub.
Actually, what's great, and another selling point for the Switch, I'm playing it on the console.
Yeah.
I'm going to be going somewhere for the weekend. I can not even like get out of the menu or anything.
Yeah.
Pause the game, snap it, put it in the bag, take it, and I push a button and I'm back into the game without even loading it. Like
That is convenient.
Yeah,
and our friend Jimmy, again, to reference him again, he's a first-time dad, you know, so he's taking care of his little kid, and he's just, like, super convenient for him. He says every time, he's like, I'm holding my kid, and I'm just like, you know, he's on my shoulder, and I'm still playing the game. And I'm like, that's cool, you know, it's built for situations like that, you know.
And with those wrist straps on, like, if anything, you can just let go of the controller.
I know,
and grab
right?
the kid.
Very true.
Yeah, there's a lot of convenience associated. And I'm just like waiting for like like those hooks when the the street performers perform with a harmonica and everything. I was like, I want that for the Switch screen.
The screen right there,
just play on Subway.
Oh my God.
Walking around town.
See, we're totally be the people in Wall-E here, rolling around.
Just the lazier I can be, the better.
Oh man! So we have one topic remaining that I want to go over. One big one.
Yeah.
The last little thing I want to say on Battlefront, I saw this today. They created. I think I saw this on Kotaku actually earlier in the week, but it's been updated. It was a formula based on the amount of credit people getting in Battlefront.
Oh, okay.
And based on from loot crates, how money spent. And production from that, and then production, how much you get from just playing the game without loot crates. So, to unlock, and this is a little insane because most people don't unlock all the unlockables in a game.
Right.
So take the numbers with a little bit of a grain of salt, but they're good. They paint a good picture. To unlock all unlockables in Battlefront 2 without spending a dime on microtransaction, currently, as it stands, so it could change, 4,528 hours of gameplay.
That sounds like there's no way that could be right. It's right.
It is.
It is correct.
Oh. Now that's for every
item, but
possible
still,
item.
that's 4,000 hours.
Now, if you're not feeling up to it, don't worry. There is another way around this.
Please tell me about that way, Ian.
All you need is $2,100.
Dude, I have that.
I don't though.
I'm actually surprised that's it.
Well, I do.
I was blown away that all it takes is $2,100 because when EA and they talk about whales, individuals spend $15,000 on games.
Yeah, absolutely.
On freebie games.
What was the guy? It was a mobile game. He was laundering money from some big company in California last year. He got popped because they discovered something had to do with they were like, this guy keeps spending like a boatload of money.
Oh, I think it was Clash of Clans or something like
that.
Yeah.
He got caught because he was spending so much money
in there. Yeah,
so he's laundering money, and so he's playing it low key. He's not buying a big car. He's not buying a big house. He's planning on building up a retirement, and he's playing Clash of Clans, spending $15,000 a month. Someone's gonna notice.
Wow.
Oh my god.
I had a funny little thing with Taylor on here. So I got a response on Twitter. Did you guys read the Reddit comment, the most disliked Reddit comment in the history of Reddit?
No.
What?
So
EA.
Disclaimer, it was EA.
So EA responded to all the people freaking out. Oh my God, Darth Vader, 60,000 credits. I'm getting 14 credits per 10 rounds. And so what they said, their defense of why it took so long to unlock things was that they wanted their players to feel a sense of accomplishment and pride.
Oh my God, the
most disliked comment in Reddit history. I think right now it's like 700,000, 800,000
stuff on Reddit.
Yeah. But then again, it kind of ties back into it. When I was saying earlier, the economy is so jacked up. They don't it isn't a matter of we don't want to put in the time to earn stuff. There is an appropriate amount of time.
I do want to put in the time to earn stuff.
And more importantly, if I really like the assault class, and I want to play the assault class, I should be unlocking crap for the assault class.
Right.
Not getting an emote for a character that would cost me $60,000 to unlock. That I don't even have or want to play. There's a formula and there's a lot of studios that get it right.
Yeah.
A lot of publishers.
I would say.
Overwatch.
Absolutely. I feel. I'm not going to say that I'm defending this by any means, but I feel like they balance it well enough for me.
You can defend it now because others are so much worse.
I know exactly. I'm defending it now because I'm like, it's aesthetics, and they do give you enough in-game currency.
They do.
So
it doesn't take you 4 matches though to earn a loot box.
Exactly.
I assume.
Exactly.
And then the loot box doesn't give you
anything.
Nothing.
Anything that you use.
That's the problem. Is it isn't just when but circling back to that, when people say well, we just need to calm down. It's a stack of things in this one game. It's not just one thing.
Right.
It's a whole bunch of things that they did wrong, and that's what makes it so frustrating.
Wow.
I put those stats in there, and he responded, "I feel such a sense of pride and accomplishment." I just wanted to share that. I love the sarcasm. So the final topic, no segue here. This is a hard right turn. We're just totally changing here. Hey, I'm using your article here, everybody.
Fantastic.
You're great, by the way.
Oh my God! Get the fuck out of here, man.
So Ryan, you're a really cool guy. I'm just saying, man.
Well, I can brown nose. So the Game Awards, well, I don't know how you guys feel about the Game Awards. Mixed.
Last year was not bad. No.
I love
the year before it was better.
Yeah,
they were with the
Witcher.
they did the music.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was amazing. For me, I love the fact that we have something to call our own as quote unquote gamers.
Yeah.
I love to celebrate the developers who hardly ever get any shout outs anywhere, and they get to come up on stage and
which
see what it looks like.
Oh god, you have 10 seconds.
That's the issue I've always had with the Game Awards. It's such a giant advertisement.
Yeah, it has to be.
They don't have
for the show to exist. They have to be.
They're not on CBS.
I wish there was some way they could figure out a way to do it.
Boys, I mean, you guys remember last year they had the Schick guy? The guy dressed up as the Razor.
Right.
Oh my god, that's right.
It's cringy, man. It's
cringy.
Hard to watch.
Someone got paid to come up with that. Someone got paid to think. Like, I feel weird when, like, again, I know it's somebody's job, but sometimes I see things and I'm like, someone paid them to have that idea and thought it was good enough to follow through on.
God.
So it's pretty bad, and like a lot of like the people they get are just
my god, YouTube. There's that one guy that was like, he lost his mind. He's like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
That was so hard to
That was
watch.
so
It's
cringy.
young. I mean, maybe in 25 years we'll be talking about it. You remember in the old days of the Game Awards? So who knows? They might do great.
Hey man, it might go down the same path of the Spike Lee Awards, man.
Those are gone.
I know exactly what I'm saying.
The wolves were so bad. But they announced all their nominees, and we're not going to go through all the different categories.
You want to go through 29 categories?
I don't want to go through 29 categories, half of which they air before the show even starts.
Yeah.
But I was really interested.
Yeah.
This is a really cool list of Game of the Year nominees because there's one from like every
Really?
possible denomination
That's
of
cool.
gaming, if
That's
you will.
really cool.
So the nominees are Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, PUBG, your own PUBG.
Wait, I had.
We'll talk about this.
We're going to talk about this.
PUBG.
Because I know your opinion on it, but I want to.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I do too. But we all have things to say on that. PUBG, Persona 5,
Okay, cool.
and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay.
It's really like
That's a lot.
real different.
Very
A lot of the times it usually ends up being the 4 RPGs and one of the shooters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because the RPGs always win.
That's a very diverse. Yeah, you're right. This is very diverse game of the year.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Some would
So
say
I wanted to
controversial.
just talk about the nominees in general, and then just as kind of a fun hypothetical to kind of round out the episode, which one of those would you pick if you were voting for it?
Yeah.
Right.
So let's just get to what you guys want to
Get to the elephant in the room.
So PUBG.
It's not a finished game.
Well, yeah, so I have 2 things to talk about really quickly, like just to frame the thing, the conversation. Like, it's not released yet, so I was confused. It's officially not released.
No.
But can anyone really argue that it is really the game of the year, right? I mean,
it's the definition of a game. I don't know if it's the game of the year though. Are you guys really seriously considering it game of the year?
Yes.
I'm not, that's not the one I would pick.
Yeah.
But
Really?
100%.
it's so influential.
Okay, I get that. Okay, that makes sense.
But there's no
That makes
reviews
sense.
out on it, so I'm very torn
Which
on it.
is I don't like either because
It's not reviewed. It's not released. People
the
I don't
moment
know.
someone anyone can offer criticism whenever, but the moment someone can pay you money for a thing,
Yeah.
it's open season on reviews in my mind.
see.
Because the
Okay.
moment someone can spend any amount of money on a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and if I come out and say, well, actually, it isn't that very... Whoa, you're affecting ourselves.
That's why
when
we
the
have
game's not-
reviews.
The game's not done yet.
Yeah.
Well, you're charging money for it.
Yeah.
So the way I broke it down, game of the year is actual head heart.
I know, right?
So, the actual game, and it's all, depends on what you're using to describe like the game of the year.
Yeah.
But I wrote down like Minecraft, GTA, Half-Life, games that came out and have changed things.
Okay.
I believe
Yeah.
PUBG is that game.
I
It is
see.
the game. I mean, I'm sure we could Google the most searched game, most talked about game of the year. It's going to be
Hey, you're
PUBG.
right.
Most
Okay.
concurrent players.
Okay,
ever.
Most-
you're right.
most concurrent players.
Absolutely agree.
Everyone's streaming it. Everyone's
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, it's only got the one map, and that's all it needs." That's
Yeah.
another. I mean,
It's
and
crazy.
Got a weird hook to it.
every developer out there right now is trying to figure out how they can
Battle
get their.
Royale.
Oh, that came out a week later. And I love Battle Royale. Let's be clear.
Yeah,
so good. I love Battle Royale so much.
It's a bus, not a plane.
Yeah.
Not a
Totally
carbon
different.
copy.
But what's funny is, it was another podcast. It may have been Gamers with Jobs, but they were talking to someone who was in the industry, and they said, not naming names, but everyone I know in this industry has said, yeah, we're trying to figure out if they've got any kind of a shooter of any kind, probably any like. lot of different game types you can fit in this kind of this kind of structure onto.
I just feel like with the controversy that affected the game, right? The whole like, oh, we're gonna sue Fortnite because they're trying to copy us. You know, they're battle royale. I'm like, but then PUBG stole that same idea from H1Z1, and then before that it was DayZ.
It was another project he had already worked on.
Yes, exactly. There's a conflict of interest there, and I'm like, that doesn't. I don't know.
And to be clear, PUBG wouldn't be my pick either for Game of the Year, but I think it deserves to be.
It deserves to be in there. Okay.
What I wanted to talk, I know it's kind of old news, but with Fortnite Battle Royale, as a fellow fan, what I really appreciated when they came out with that game is they talked about how they just had a platform they thought it would work well on, and they were totally honest about where they got it from, and they were like, we're being unique, there's a bus, not a plane, there's balloons, and not...
And they referenced PUBG, and that was one of the PUBG's sticking points, is they referenced PUBG in stuff that was made to promote their game, which is why it gets weird, but
this is honestly
very upfront.
And this is some of the best press that PUBG has gotten. About the controversy, people love controversy.
Yeah, people love that stuff,
I thought it was really cool the way they came out and said, we just love PUBG. And we love Battle Royale, and we thought our game would work well. It did, because they had the game out a week or two later. I mean,
and I've heard people say that it's just, okay, well, one of their arguments was, well, we just wish that they would take it and do something different with it. I'm sorry, but the construction stuff is very different.
It adds a new element to it.
A match that you win might last 20 minutes, maybe. Maybe. In PUBG, it's 45 minutes long. If you lay in the grass for the whole time. That's not an option in Fortnite.
You got the traps, which I don't think PUBG has traps, right?
PUBG does not have traps. No.
And again, not that we should have to make a grocery list, but I'm like, just the crafting alone is a big enough difference. Like they took something that they already had.
It's like an extra element to the game that isn't in PUBG at all, you know. So I agree. I definitely think. I guess it comes down to the boiling point of what do you define as a game, right? Is it a game that it's something that you can play, or you pick up and play, or is it a game that if it's a complete game,
marketed, released, tested, reviewed,
start date, and
I didn't mean to take us away from the Game of the Year.
No, but
my heart skipped a beat when he said it was a battle royale.
I just feel like for me, I agree with everything that you guys said. The publicity is it's going to change the game, like a lot of his predecessors have. But I just feel like for me, it's not a complete game. Unless they're still working out kinks. That studio, Blue Holes, is already releasing an MMORPG.
What about Bethesda?
I know, right?
They come out incomplete all the time.
But that is released, reviewed, certified, and on a shelf, and in order to be criticized for not being complete. You can release an incomplete product like Bethesda does, but if you go to Steam, it says Early access. Right. We aren't a game yet. If you're gonna get mad at people for reviewing your game, it isn't a game.
If you had people playing the game this long and paying money for it, it's done. And more importantly, it's the biggest game of the year. So
it is.
So that's why I wrote down actual. It's PUBG because as far as the game that is going to change things, I mean, I would love. Like probably not 100-player, but imagine like a Destiny. Sign me up.
That'd be
some sort of drop in. You go open up chests and you maybe shoot, I got Thorn. Well, they don't have Thorn in Destiny 2, but they should. Like you grab different gear and stuff like that. Maybe
cool.
You get extra class abilities. But the point is, like any game, Call of Duty could do it.
Imitate that.
All these different games, and I'm just naming shooters. I mean, there's probably. I don't know if you guys watch much anime, but Sword Art Online.
Oh I love Sword Art.
I want a Gun Gale Online game.
That would be amazing.
Just set up that world, just make a decimated cityscape with some outlying areas. Drop 100 people in there.
Give a couple people lightsabers to deflect bullets and all that stuff.
Don't give me the full MMO. I don't need that.
Right?
I just want Gun Gale Online, but it's just 100 people drop in.
I know the Crysis studio is actually their Warface.
Warface,
is making a new one. Warface is making. I'm like, so you guys were totally right. It's influencing the industry. It's changing into a different direction.
Warface is free to play as well.
Yes, Warface is free to play. Yeah.
With H1Z1, is it just 100-player or are there zombies? Because what about a game where you drop in on the map and there's zombies?
That would be so cool.
There's always a lot of wrinkles that you can throw into it.
Right. Okay. Well, now PUBG does have the custom servers you can do when you have zombies.
Okay, there you go.
And I think H1Z1 has more than 100.
Yeah.
Could Far Cry, but with animals.
Yeah. I
guess not the new one.
Ride the Bill Mammoth.
Far Cry with rednecks.
Big pickup trucks and everything.
Cowboy Confederate flags.
But okay, so you had the actual. You also had. You said head and heart.
Yeah, head is Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
Even though I'm a big defender of Horizon Zero Dawn, I think it does a lot of things much better than Breath of the Wild did.
Okay.
But if you look back at, and I'm not done with Breath of the Wild by any stretch of the imagination, but I can clearly tell this is a special game. This is a game that people who are younger gamers are going to, when they're our age,
Their
be
ocarina.
bringing. Yes. And I mean, even
I want to play it.
even people our age it's their new ocarina.
It absolutely is, and it's so weird for me to say that, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but it is absolutely that game for me.
Yes.
And I haven't played a Zelda game that took my breath, like...
Hey!
But Wind Waker was that other game. I'm like, I love Wind Waker. I never played a Zelda game that was that good, or before that, and I was like, Wind Waker was my Ocarina of Time.
Right.
And I'm like, I played Breath of the Wild, I'm like, this is on another level. And I'm like, even to this day, when we're like getting closer to the end of the year, we're picking games, and I played that at the beginning of the year, and I'm like, Breath of the Wild was an amazing game. And I'm like, I want to go back and play now. I'm just thinking about it, you know, it's giving me that feeling of like, oh, life is so simple and so nice. I love the cell, like, shading and everything. I'm like, it's graphics, oh, it's so good. Yeah, it's that game for me. For sure, yeah.
Plus, I haven't played a game since that I haven't gone, Link could climb this. Why can't I climb this? I need that fixed the shit out of that.
Yeah,
no climbing issues in that game.
Oh my god.
Now I play games where I can't get over a waist-high table.
Oh
and it's like,
why not?
PUBG.
And then Heart, and I don't believe this. Maybe it deserves to be in the Game of the Year conversation, but my game, the game that I played the most, the game that I'm going to keep playing, Destiny 2. I mean, I thought they...
It should have been in the conversation. Why was it not in the conversation?
Because it was a really good year for games.
I know, right?
I just feel like Destiny, I think the issue, not issue as in a negative or in a pejorative terms toward Destiny at all, but just the nature of the game itself doesn't really carry a lot of emotional resonance.
Yeah, I guess
I feel like games that carry emotional resonance or blow the world up like PUBG are the kinds of games, like it's always The Witcher.
It's also an iteration.
The Horizons. It's a second one.
And it's not that big.
I mean, you're right. They fixed some problems, but not Zelda all the same.
Changed the game for Zelda. Right. Mario changed the game for Mario. Persona 5, like it got people playing RPGs.
Oh my god,
yeah.
PUBG. Like it's going to change everything,
Yeah.
And you know maybe by this time next year it'll be like, remember PUBG? Yeah, people are still only playing PUBG. A bunch of other games tried, but you know whatever. I don't think that's going to be the case. I could be wrong.
I doubt PUBG will win. I don't feel that. I don't feel that it's going to.
I think Zelda is probably going to win. I think PUBG will be the dark horse where. I think it'll cause a lot of controversy, but I think if anyone's being honest, even if they don't like the game, if for whatever reason, if they don't even like the game, they hate the community around, they think they're just fed up with it.
Right.
It's too popular.
It's
Call of Duty.
It's that big, you should probably go, oh, okay, well, that's why it's Game of the Year, because it is the
affecting
game.
people that don't even know that, impacted by it some way or another, so.
I feel like the reception that Zelda got, I mean, I'm basically already assuming. I'm just assuming that's going to win it, right?
I've heard a lot of people lean toward Mario, but my thinking is that they just played Mario.
Exactly. And they're going to have to sit down and revisit it.
Mario is very good and does a lot of things great from what I've played of it so far. But Zelda is... I don't know,
there's just something intangible about it that was just made it so good.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like there's just the first open world Zelda that you can just explore 100%. And I'm like, there's just elements to that. There's like in-game physics where like if you create a fire, you can create an updraft, and you can there's just like so many different small things that the game. I like the fact that they don't hold your hand through it.
Right.
You know? You just do whatever you want. You know,
I don't have a Switch, and I've never been a huge Nintendo fan.
Mm-hmm.
That game makes me want to be a Nintendo fan.
Yeah.
I watched maybe 30 hours of people playing it on Twitch,
and
I never played it, and it's such a big regret of mine. I'd love to play it.
Well, it's still there.
I know, right?
No, I know. The Switch is a little more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to go down, though. Honestly, I would not be surprised if by this time next year, the real Switch... I mean, first of all, the Switch came out about a year earlier than it should have.
Yeah.
I'm expecting an updated piece of hardware that probably isn't going to do too much new, but it's going to have something resembling a hard drive.
Yeah. I know, right?
Any hard drive at all.
Oh, my God.
And, you know, they'll have all the other kinks worked out. So I think version 2.0 is going to be here within the next year, and that'll probably
release like a green one with Triforce on it or something.
I'm honestly surprised they didn't.
I always regret, like, there's always that little bit of, because I bought the Xbox One pretty early on, I bought the PS4 pretty early on, and I always had that little twinge of regret. I'm like, I wanted the white one. was really
I
wanted the slim.
Yeah, I got the. Remember when I first
I was
bought Destiny on the PS4? I bought the nice white Destiny
I'm so
PS4.
jealous of that shit. I want the white one. God
You
damn it.
got the Ghost though, remember?
I did.
You got the Ghost.
God.
Yeah.
I hated the first Destiny. But
Oh, okay, fair
Yeah.
enough.
None of us were real big
Yeah.
fans. We gave it the second one a try and liked it.
Yeah, again huge improvement. So,
I've only played the one of the games on the list.
really. Oh yeah, okay,
I
yeah.
don't have a Switch.
That happens, yeah.
Usually, usually I'm the
so
dude playing like I'm
Right.
kind of the hipstery guy who's like, oh yeah, I played all the RPG titles.
Yeah.
Like that's usually like my. So this is actually weird. Like I've actually only played one of these, so I don't feel like I can really have as much of like a
Input, yeah.
conversation. I don't know.
Dude, you
loved Horizon.
Yeah, yeah.
My favorite game of the year by far.
really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Oh
okay.
my
Yeah,
God.
that makes sense.
So I would vote for that in an instant, but I don't feel like I'm glad I don't get a vote because I didn't play anything else on here. So
I played I played 4 of the 5, right?
I see that we have switched roles.
I know. Last year I was like, I played Stardew Valley.
Which I'm playing for the first time on the Switch. I
Oh
never
my
played.
God.
I'm waiting
because
for
I
the
knew
Switch.
what it would do to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, when it comes out to the Switch, I'll finally play it. Uh-oh.
I know. Bad choice.
Thank God I got reviews thrown at me
Fantastic.
because it got me out of that.
Same
because
exact thing that happened to me, and I don't want to dive into that, but I just got into Stardew Valley like 6 months ago, I
Yeah.
think, and I was asking Kevin, I was like, what is this game? And he's like, if you want to lose like 300 hours into a farming simulator, play that game. I was like,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're talking about. Spent the $15 and just could not stop playing Stardew Valley. And I would talk to him about it, and he's like, shut up.
That is not true.
He's like,
the fuck
he's
out
like,
of
go
this
finish
room,
Witcher.
man.
And I'm like, Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley.
Oh, I definitely give you shit about Witcher.
Oh, yeah.
I did not disparage that game at all. In fact, the only reason I haven't played that is I'm waiting to get a Switch.
I would
That's
love it
a
on
game
Switch, yeah.
designed for
So
the
it's to
Switch.
go, yeah. So if you had to choose or make an argument for
Zero Dawn.
Oh my god.
what would yours what would your argument be, or what
Well,
would
I mean,
you
it's-
give your speech to and be like, hey, this deserves to be the game of the year?
I don't know, man. I mean, I did my review on it. That was actually a more timely review. Of
Really? Yeah, that's right.
I got it out like a month after.
Yeah, a month
that
after.
game
Yeah,
came
that's
out.
right.
I have a.
Yeah.
I'm known for like I'll do reviews for games like way after. 'Cause
Someone's always going to be interested, though.
Yeah.
There are people doing reviews of games.
Oh
that
yeah,
came
there's
out.
tons of people that watch it.
I
Right?
just
Drama
reviewed.
review? Got, like, 200
just dropped my Master Andromeda review,
Yeah.
which came out in March.
Yeah, I know,
Because
right?
some people saw it on the store shelf, thought,
Yeah.
I'm interested in this game. They looked up a review, and you had just dropped one,
Yeah.
and they're like, I'm going to watch
Yeah,
it.
I know.
He got like 200 views on it. We only
We
average,
don't
I
get
mean,
really.
Yeah.
we only average like 150.
We don't average 150 in your dreams.
Average
my man.
about half a dozen.
But they're loyal.
There's always 6.
Yeah, no.
No, but I don't know. Horizon Zero Dawn, man. Like
Yeah.
I just there's so many different facets to that game that I absolutely love. Because you guys know me, I'm a big like story guy. I absolutely love Aloy, despite her terrible name.
Yeah.
She
Aloy,
was
is it supposed to be like alloy or
No,
something?
it's
It's
Aloy.
Aloy.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's like a play on words.
I guess
with,
it-
like,
yeah,
metal.
metal, I think.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
really on the
Okay.
nose. It's not very good.
Oh, that makes me like it less.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't. It doesn't change her and
Yeah.
who she is. I'm totally into like.
I seen you
There
play
needs to be
it,
more
yeah.
protagonists, like good protagonists. I
Yeah.
love like classic
Strong
protagonists.
female protagonist.
Just in general,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even care. Like
Yeah.
I just, as long as that they're not. I'm just tired of the bald dude that
The macho,
that talks.
yeah, Caucasian guy.
I don't care.
Mason,
Hey, what's wrong with the
what's
wrong with the short-haired Caucasian guy?
Whether I'm playing a young woman or I'm playing Bayek right now, an African man,
Yeah.
like I just spice it up a little bit. I want to hear more perspectives and things in these story-based games, and so that was really cool. But just everything about that game was so unique, even though it was using the tropiest of open-world tropes ever. You have the tower that you climb up to get the map, but instead of a tower, it was a giant
dinosaur.
walking
Oh,
thing.
dinosaur.
I saw the towers, and instead of going, oh, fucking other tower, I'm like, let's go climb on the monster.
Yeah.
And you get up on the top, and then you swing down. It's just incredible. Like
That's cool.
it's just different. I haven't
Yeah.
played anything like that. AI is really intelligent. They hunt in packs and they
Yeah,
flank you and
the monster
surround
hunting
you.
in that game reminds me a lot of Monster
Hunter.
Hunter.
Yeah,
And I'm like, when I saw you
absolutely.
play that, I'm like, this looks super familiar. I'm like, what?
It's just it's a great
It feels
combination.
really good. Too.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
they
man.
give you. They basically say, here's a treasure chest full of toys that you could use to hunt these animals.
Yeah.
Use whatever you
Do
want.
whatever you want. Yeah.
And then
That's
when
kinda
you-
cool.
like especially in the early goings when you're not taking on 5 giant things at once.
Yeah.
When you're at the point where you've got one giant, what are the snapjaw? What are the?
You got that is the Snapjaw's the alligator.
Yeah.
So the first time you come across
Underjaw,
one of
the
those,
huge
yeah.
one.
First time you come across anything bigger than a raptor,
Yeah.
you're like, how am I gonna
Kill it.
Yeah. I mean, I want to
You
kill
kind
it.
of look at it for a while.
Yeah,
you're
like,
that's
It's
not
like
gonna
just
work.
gauging it.
That's not gonna work.
He seems to have ice around him, so maybe if I swim in fire,
Exactly.
should I tether him or should I set up some tripwires?
That's
It doesn't
so
look like he's going to be
Yeah.
fast.
And
And then something bites you from behind you.
Yeah,
and
no!
It's a combination of like there's that tactical sort of planning out your attack on a robot, or there's the stealth elements. I'm a big stealth fan. It's light stealth, so you have that feeling of going through the long grass and taking guys
Good
out.
mobility too.
If
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
like that, I really implore you to try out Monster Hunter because it's
I might look into that newer.
It's
newer
just
worlds.
like that.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to play Monster Hunter. It's gonna be one of my. It's gonna hopefully
Yeah.
it's gonna be one of my favorite games that next
So
year.
you're obviously going with Horizon.
Yeah, and the last point I would make, which
Yeah.
is usually the last one, because I don't want people to think I'm just like all I care about is graphics. It's hands down the most beautiful game I've ever played in my life.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Very pretty.
Like, hands down. I haven't seen a game. Assassin's Creed is drop dead gorgeous as well, but
man.
it doesn't. Horizon just has
it
a.
looks really good.
Oh,
I need,
yeah.
I need
I
to
need
get them
to-
side by side.
Yeah,
You
right?
get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different because like with Battlefront, it's kind of like Cuphead and Battlefront 2. They're
True,
beautiful,
okay, yeah.
but they're so hectic. I feel
Yeah.
like Cuphead, I don't even enjoy the art because I'm just like fuck. as I'm playing it. Whereas like you got a damn picture mode in Horizon, and it lets you position the camera, and it's all about just that.
I spent
huge,
hours doing that.
gorgeous
Yeah, okay.
world.
Yeah, I've seen your
I just like taking pictures
screenshots.
of
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
Let alone the world. And
Wait till you
everything
play
else.
Stardew Valley.
I know, right?
It's just hard to be unique, and for them to use, I would say
On
that the
top
main
of that,
theme
yeah.
for me is to use tried and true and frankly kind of almost
Generic,
old
yeah.
to the point of cliche
Yeah.
and make them somehow feel fresh again and
Yeah.
unique.
That's
It's just
good.
an accomplishment. That
Yeah,
I
that's
think is-
how you do
it's
business.
incredible
you,
game
You
design.
improve on what has been already done. You
Yep.
know, that's what.
They improved on something that I thought people were like, okay, we're kind of bored of this.
Yeah, I know. Mason,
Well,
what
it was
about you?
basically like the biggest jock in the world coming out and saying, "Hey, I wrote an album."
Yeah.
And it's awesome because you got Gorilla made Killzone.
Yeah.
And I love Killzone, but a lot of
Yeah.
people didn't. And
I
then
like
they
it
came
too.
out. They basically said, "Hey, yeah, we've been doing first-person shooters for a while.
Yeah.
Here's something completely different."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did it
Amazing.
better than
Yeah.
any other Killzone. Like,
Yeah.
and again, I really like Killzone.
Yeah.
To have a studio come out and just surprise you
Surprise you
that.
like
And
that, yeah.
and Sony being like, sure, we're
Yeah.
open-minded and
Yeah.
willing to let our studios
want to
take
let
risks with our money.
Robot
Yeah.
dinosaurs?
Robot dinosaurs? Sure.
But you do the
Be in.
Killzone.
That's another one I'd throw in there. I'd throw Sony in there with Bethesda.
Yeah.
They are really
Yeah,
dedicated to that.
a lot of good IPs. Yeah.
Which one of those would you pick, man? You a PUBG guy?
No, I'm not. I talked about it earlier. I'm not going to go PUBG. I'd be very candid though. I love PUBG, and anyone
Yeah.
who's ever heard me talk ever knows I love PUBG.
I gotta say, at one point,
Hmm.
I went to Mason directly for my PUBG news. And I'm like, hey, Mason, what's
Yeah,
the
he
new
would
update
know.
for PUBG? He's like, well, dude, on October
I'm
15th,
constantly-
release. I'm like,
constantly
oh,
reading
dude,
patch
what's the
notes.
patch notes? And I'm like, he's like, well, here's what's gonna happen. I'm like,
rolls the
whoa,
scroll out.
What the? What
We're
is
gonna
that?
like the news.
I was like, oh, he didn't even have a PC, by the
I
way.
didn't even have PUBG.
Yeah, the crazy thing was he didn't even have PUBG. He was up.
There's a
up to
primal
the-
instinct in me to kill 99 other people and be the last guy alive. I don't know what it is. My ancestors used to do it for fun. I don't know. But like, I loved PUBG before I played PUBG.
Yeah.
I just knew I was going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't believe in picking a team. I love Fortnite
Yeah.
Battle Royale as well.
Yeah.
And I played that before I had a PC. I'm very new to the PC world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We a couple weeks ago. Are you building the PC?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got a shell.
I got a shell
with some
of one.
stuff in it.
Right.
And I've been
Trying to
literally
find what's wrong
the
with it.
entire setup I have, which is a generous setup,
Yeah.
you know, a much downgraded version of his, but all the
Yeah. same
same components have been gifted to me. I spent $0 on this PC, and it's because I have incredible friends who are willing to do that stuff for me. But I could use a graphics card upgrade for sure.
Yeah.
I'm
540
Hey,
over
drop
here.
here is you guys can send it to PO Box blah blah blah.
Put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I will. And then, but yeah, I love PUBG. I love that genre, but I have to give it to Horizon,
Yeah.
which I haven't finished yet. I know, Ian.
Yeah.
Calm calm down.
Yeah.
Pretty burn me at the stake.
Hasn't finished Horizon.
Hasn't
Hasn't
finished
finished Witcher.
But
eye roll.
dude, that's all he gives me. All anymore.
It
All he
wasn't an eye
gives me
roll.
is the eye
It
roll.
was a brief glance to the right down to like.
He's a dad disappointed.
Yeah.
He's not angry.
He's disappointed.
Yeah, he's just
Look, man,
Exactly.
after 4 years or so, the flame dies down a little. I get it. I understand. But Horizon, to your point earlier about getting the most out of the time you do spend with a game, I felt like I got the most out of Horizon. I took so much away from that game. I thought a lot of what they did was not unique, but unique, kind of how you guys talked about it. And I enjoyed, if you took a percentage of the amount of time you played a game to how much you actually enjoyed it, I enjoyed the entire time I played that game. I loved getting through the story every step of the way, even though I haven't finished it. I just enjoyed everything.
Every step of the way.
I enjoyed aluminum or whatever her name is.
Aluminum?
Iron.
AU.
Sodium bicarbonate. I enjoyed. But no, I'd have to give it to Horizon just to wrap it up, Kev.
Oh yeah, I have two. Okay.
Whoa, you can't.
Well, no.
Wait a minute.
I'll do what Ryan did. I know for a fact
All right.
that Breath of the Wild's gonna win. I feel like it's
I
just
agree.
the overall popular game, and
I think
people
it might even be the right choice in a weird
I
way.
feel like it balances between the critical acclaim and then the general public acclaim. That people love it. With PUBG, I feel like a lot of players like it. A lot of the developers are like, whatever.
And it's more current.
Right,
Unfortunately,
yeah, exactly.
Zelda's a victim of the
But
time.
my favorite game of the year was
By far, Persona 5.
I love Persona 5.
That's on the list.
Yeah, I know. Persona 5 was. It was just like
It
I'm
is
like
big,
the I know, right?
But the nomination counts for
Yeah,
me.
Yeah, the anime nerd in me was like, dude, that game hit on every anime like string that I have. I'm like, you're just like this troubled high school kid. And I'm like just going through my head. I'm like, man, I'm just such a weeb, man. I'm like,
Man, I suck.
I know. I'm like, I'm such a piece of crap. I'm like, I could be playing like Breath of the Wild. I'm playing Persona. I love it. I was like, there's like these like hot anime girls and the art style, and then like the way that it was like bouncing high school life and being like this phantom thief thing. I'm like, there was just everything about that.
It's
Just
all about
like
characters.
yeah,
too,
it was
man.
yeah exactly.
Those
It was
are the
like
games that always
the
stick with
character
me.
development in that game is like you get to learn, you get to know somebody like chapter by chapter, and it's really cool. You get to at the end of the game, I just feel like I have a kind of like virtual group of friends because I know these people so well. I'm like, this is weird.
Like
you know?
Mass Effect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's what like kind of like got to me. I'm like, I felt like after playing it, I was like, I watched a really nice anime. And I was like, interactive anime. I really enjoy that. So my favorite game of the year, but I think Breath of the Wild's gonna win. So
Nice.
yeah. So
I agree.
yeah.
But
let's wrap it up,
an hour
boys.
and 45 minutes.
Wow.
I apologize.
No,
No.
I was kind of expecting that.
Okay.
Oh no, it was a great podcast.
We have a hard
yeah.
time with our normal hour cap. We're like, we're at an hour.
I know.
Yeah, when you said 45 minutes, I was like, you're a liar.
I know.
You're a
That
filthy
never happens.
liar.
I flip the table and leave.
You're a filthy
He's like, his
liar.
alarm goes off. Well, gotta go.
According to my clock.
Well, we're glad you came in
Yeah,
hydrated.
dude. Ryan,
It's,
you're always.
Yeah, I told you.
welcome.
I warned you, man. It is a sauna in here.
He just-
It's not too bad. It's not
No,
too bad.
I made sure to cool it down a little bit. But.
I want to welcome Ryan and welcome back. You're always welcome to come back.
Yeah, anytime you're-
It's great. It's been good to get your insight on the reviewing side of the game industry and all that. So.
Yeah, if you ever hear the song, that fellowship song, dun, 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 like, you know what, I think I'm going to go and podcast on the other side of the world.
The mythical lands of Glendale. The Dale of
What do your hells I see?
They've taken the hobbits to the
Yeah, I know, right?
to Isengard.
Isengard to
Isengard. Love it, man.
Oh man.
Seriously though, thank you so much for joining
No,
us.
thank
man.
you for having
It
me.
was,
It's been a blast.
It was a
No.
pleasure. We're hoping to just kind of we've been doing this for a while. And
Yeah. Get some new
we love
guests
it.
in here,
So
yeah.
you're always
Yeah.
anytime you're feeling like, hey, I got some shit I got to talk about.
Yeah.
I got to get something off my chest
Yeah.
about this industry. Feel free. We usually record on Fridays, but we'll work it out.
Perfect.
We'll work it
Yeah,
out.
cool.
Awesome. Any last thoughts, guys?
Hey, let's not delete this podcast.
Yeah, I will not
Good
accidentally
idea.
delete this one.
Nice,
This
nice.
should be episode 36.
That's a solid move.
But I accidentally clicked on the decibel reader thing, which shrunk the actual like physical size on the screen down to nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, I deleted it.
So.
So I hit
Next
Control Z.
logical, your next logical.
And so
thing.
when I hit Control Z, which is undo, it's like, oh, I'll undo your whole fucking podcast, which
Oh
it did.
my god.
And I was like, oh god, if I hit X and it's still here, if I hit the exit and it's still here, it'll be like, are you sure? Do you want to save?
No.
And then I'll be like, yeah, I want to save. X, desktop. God damn it. That was the end of that
If
one.
it makes you feel any better, there's probably not a podcast in the world that hasn't had that story.
I know.
Once or
Yeah.
twice.
So,
Yeah.
Oh god.
I have been so scared all night. Like, oh God, is it recording?
Yeah.
If I click, will it delete it? So I'm really glad we're still recording. And the audio looks awesome.
Yeah.
So
And if not, we'll just do another 2 hours.
yeah, hey, there you go. It's only
Yeah.
8:47.
Shit.
Shit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, whatever. You know.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all for
Yeah.
for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
And just one more thank you, man, Ryan. It was
Yeah,
great having
thanks
you.
again.
Glad to
Hope
be here.
to,
Thank you.
hope to have you again.
Cool.
All right, later, guys.
Later.
See ya.